CD4. Points of view. Vantage points. Angles. Mum in her red dress, laughing with Lyle as she drops chunks of crispy tilapia onto her plate. The tilapia has been drowned in a garlic and chilli and coriander sauce. So many exposed white bones in its charred and thorny dorsal fin that they look like the ivory keys in the warped piano organ the devil plays in hell. Titus Brosh, resting an arm over his daughter Hannah, as he talks to our local member Stephen Burke, who wrestles with a chopstick clump of Vietnamese lemongrass beef noodle salad. Lyle's best friend, Teddy, staring across the table at my mum. Bic Dang, bringing another dish to the table. "Braised snakehead," she beams. Darren Dang is seated on my left, and August is on my right. The three of us are eating spring rolls. The man Titus calls Ivan is across the table, sucking the flesh from a bright orange chili crab claw. "Ivan Kroll," Darren says, keeping his head down as he chomps into a spring roll. "Huh?" I say. "Stop staring at him," Darren says, his head darting anywhere but in the direction of the man Titus calls Ivan. "He gives me the creeps," I say. It's loud at this table. The restaurant noise between the lounge singer on the dining floor below us and the drink-fueled chat of our table guests and the cackling howl of Bic Dang's laughter has caused a kind of invisible sound booth to form around Darren and me, allowing us to talk freely about the people sitting around us. "That's what he's paid to do," Darren says. "What? Give people the creeps?" "What do you mean? What does he do?" "By day, he runs a llama farm in Daybro." "Llama farm?" "Yeah, I've been there. He's got all these llamas on his farm. Crazy fucking animals, like a donkey had sex with a camel. They got these big yellow-bottom teeth, like the worst case for braces you ever saw. The teeth are so bad, you give them half an apple, they can't bite into it. They just have to roll it around in their tongue like a gobstopper or something." "And by night?" "By night, he gives people the creeps." Darren spins the Lazy Susan on our table and brings a bowl of salt and pepper baked mud crab to our places. He takes a claw and 3 crispy crab legs and lays them in his small bowl of rice. "That's his job?" I ask. "Shit, yeah, it is," Darren says. "He's got one of the most important jobs in the whole operation." Darren shakes his head. "Geez, Tink, you're one green-ass drug dealer's son. I told you, Lyle's not me dad." "Sorry, forgot he's your temp dad." I take a salt and pepper crab claw and bite it with my big back teeth, and the baked crab shell breaks like an eggshell breaks under pressure. If Darra had a flag that we residents could wave in solidarity, then a soft-shelled salt and peppered mud crab would have to feature on it somewhere. "How does he give people the creeps?" I ask. "Reputation and rumours," Mum says. Darren explains. "Anyone can get a reputation, of course. Just walk outside and stick a knife in the neck of the next poor bastard you see in the street." Darren turns the Lazy Susan again, stops it spinning at a bowl of fish cakes. I can't stop staring at Ivan Kroll, picking crab shell gristle from his big straight tobacco-stained teeth. "Sure, Ivan Kroll has done his share of bad shit that everybody knows about," Darren says. "A bullet in the back of a head here, a hydrochloric acid bath there, but it's the shit we don't know about that scares people. It's the rumours that build up around a guy like Ivan Kroll that do half the work for him. It's the rumours that give people the creeps." "What rumours?" "You haven't heard the rumours?" "What rumours, Darren?" He looks over at Ivan Kroll. He leans in close to me. "Dem bones," Darren whispers. "Dem bones dem bones. What the fuck are you talking about? He takes 2 crab legs, makes them dance on his table like human legs. The toe bone's connected to the foot bone, he sings. The foot bone's connected to the ankle bone. The ankle bone's connected to the leg bone. Now shake them skeleton bones. Darren bursts into laughter. He reaches out a sharp hand and grips my neck, squeezes hard. Neck bone's connected to the head bone, he sings. He puts a fist on my forehead. Head bone's connected to the dick bone. He howls, and Ivan Kroll looks up from his plate, runs his dead brown eyes over the scene. Darren straightens up, collects himself immediately. Ivan drops his head back down to his plate of massacred crab. Dickhead, I whisper. I lean closer to him this time. What are you talking about? The bones. Forget about it, he says, digging his chopsticks into his rice. I slap his shoulder with the back of my hand. Don't be a prick, I say. What do you care so much anyway? You going to write about it one day in the Courier Mail? He asks. I need to know this shit, I say. I'm working for Lyle for a bit. Darren's eyes light up. What doing? I'm going to watch out for things, I say proudly. What? Darren howls. He leans back in his chair, belly laughing. Ha! Tinkerbell is going to watch out for things. Well, praise the Lord and kiss my balls. Tinkerbell is on watch. And what exactly will you be watching out for? Details, I say. Details? He barks, slapping his knees now. What sort of details? Like, today I'm wearing green jocks and white socks? Yep, I say, everything. All the tiny little details. Details is knowledge, Slim says. Knowledge is power. This is a full-time gig Lyle's going to put you on, Darren asks. Watching never stops, I say. It's a 24/7 concern. What have you been watching tonight? Tell me about dem bones and I'll tell you what I've been watching. Tell me about the watching and I'll tell you about dem bones, Tink. I take a deep breath. I look across the table. Lyle's best friend, Teddy, is still staring across the table at my mum. I've seen men look at my mum like that before. Teddy has big black curly hair and olive skin, a thick black moustache, the kind Slim says are worn by men with big egos and small pricks. Slim says he wouldn't want to share a cell with Teddy. He never says why. Teddy's got some Italian in him, some Greek maybe, from his mum's side. He catches me staring at him, staring at her. He smiles. I've seen that smile before. How are you boys going? Teddy asks, shouting across the noise of the dinner table. Good thanks, Teddy, I say. How you going, Gussie? Teddy says, raising a beer glass to August. August holds a cup of lemonade up in toast to Teddy, raises a half-hearted left eyebrow. That's the way, boys. Teddy smiles, giving a hearty wink. I lean back to Darren. The tiny little details, I say. 1,000,001 details in a single setting. The way you hold your chopsticks with that kink in your right forefinger. The smell of your armpits and the bong water stain on the bottom of your button-up shirt. The woman sitting over there with the birthmark on her shoulder, shaped like Africa. The way Titus's daughter Hannah hasn't eaten anything but a few forkfuls of rice tonight. Titus hasn't taken his hand off her left thigh in more than 30 minutes. Your mum slipped an envelope to our friendly local member, and then our friendly local member went to the toilet, and when he came back, he sat in his chair and raised a wine glass to your mum, who was standing by the drinks fridge. She smiled and nodded, then went downstairs to talk to the old and large Vietnamese man sitting by the stage, watching that awful singer work her way through New York mining disaster 1941 by the Bee Gees. There's a kid over by the trout tank poking fish with a sparkler. And that kid's big sister is Tui Chan, and she's in Year 8 at Jindalee High, and she's looking so fucking beautiful tonight in that yellow dress, and she's looked over here at you 4 times so far tonight, and you're too much of a stoned arsehead to even notice. Darren looks down at the bottom floor dining area, and Tui Chan catches his eye and smiles, pulls a clump of her straight black hair away from her face. He immediately turns away. "Shit, Belle," he says. "You're right." He shakes his head. "I thought it was just a bunch of assholes having dinner." "Tell me about dem bones," I say. Darren chugs a lemonade, straightens his jacket and pants. He leans in close to me again, and we stare across at the subject of our discussion, Ivan Kroll. 30 years ago, his brother disappeared, Darren says. His older brother was a bloke named Magna, and, even his name meant tough cunt, in Polish or something like that. Toughest bastard in Dara. Real sadistic prick. He picked on Ivan constantly, burnt him and shit, tied him to railways and whipped him with jumper leads. So apparently, one day Magna is drinking some Polish whiskey, 50% rocket fuel, and passes out in the family shed where the 2 brothers were working on some smash repairs. Ivan grabs his brother by the arms and drags him down to the back of the family paddock, 100 metres away, and leaves him there. Then, cool as a cucumber, he hooks up 2 power leads running to the back of the paddock, and then he grabs a circular power saw and lights it up, and he saws off his brother's head, as calmly as he'd cut the roof off a Ford Falcon. We stare at Ivan Kroll. He looks up, like he senses us staring at him. He wipes his mouth with a napkin from his lap. "That shit true?" I whisper. "Mum says rumours about Ivan Kroll aren't always accurate," Darren says. "Thought so," I say. "Nah, man," Darren says. "You're not getting me. She means the rumours about Ivan Kroll never tell the full truth because the full truth is shit most sane people can't even wrap their heads around." "So what did he do with Magna? Or what was left of Magna?" "Nobody knows," Darren says. "Magna just disappeared. Vanished. Never seen again. All the rest is just whispers, and that's his genius. That's why he's so brilliant at what he does today. One day his mark is walking the streets someplace, the next day his mark is not walking any place at all." I keep staring at Ivan Kroll. "Does your mum know?" I ask. "Know what?" "What Ivan did with his brother's body?" "Nah, Mum doesn't know shit," he says. "But I know." "What did he do with it?" "Same thing he does with all his marks." "What's that?" Darren spins the Lazy Susan, stops it at a plate filled with chili crab. He takes a whole cooked sand crab and drops it on his plate. "Watch closely," he says. He grips the crab's right claw, wrenches it off violently, and sucks its insides. He grips the crab's left claw, rips it from the body carapace as easy as a stick pulled from the shoulder socket of a snowman. "The arms," he says. "Then the legs." He tears off 3 legs on the right of the shell, 3 legs off the left. "All them marks just disappear, Tink. Snitches, blabbermouths, enemies, competitors, clients who can't pay their debts." Then Darren removes the crab's rear swimmer legs, 4 jointed leg segments, each shaped like a small flat sinker. He sucks the meat out of all of these legs and places the intact leg shells back beside the carapace, exactly where they're supposed to be anatomically, but not actually touching the shell. He puts the crab claws back in place, like the legs, a millimetre from the crab's chili-sauced body. Dismemberment, Eli. Darren whispers. Darren looks across at me to see the dumb look on my dumb face. Then he piles up all the crab's legs and claws and drops them into the upturned shell of the crab's carapace. Much easier to transport a body in 6 pieces, he says, dropping the piled carapace in a bowl already filled with a mountain of sucked and discarded crab shells. Transport where? Darren smiles. He nods his head towards Titus Brosh. To a good home, he says. To the Lord of Limbs. Titus stands at that moment and taps his wineglass with a fork. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe it's time to mark this extraordinary evening with a brief note of thanks. On the walk home, a thick cloud has covered up Orion. August and Mum walk ahead of Lyle and me. We watch them balancing on the green log fences that border Juicy Street Park. These log fences, each made of one long light green treated pine log resting on 2 stumps, have acted as our Olympic Games gymnastics balance beams for roughly 6 years now. Mum bounces up gracefully and sticks a 2-foot landing on a balance pole. She nails a daring mid-air scissor kick and lands it too. August claps enthusiastically. Now the great Comanche prepares for the dismount, she says, cautiously approaching the edge of the pole. She makes a flurry of straight-arm peacock hand waves for effect and acknowledges her imaginary crowd of Montreal judges and 1976 Olympics diehards. August puts his arms out in front, braces himself low with his bent knees, and Mum springs into his waiting arms. Perfect 10, she says. August spins her around in celebration. They walk on, and August jumps up onto a pole of his own. Lyle watches on from afar, smiling. So, you thought about it? I ask. Thought about what? Lyle replies. My plan, I say. Tell me more about this task force. Task Force Janus, I say. You really need to read the paper more. The police are waging war on drugs imported from the Golden Triangle. Bullshit, Lyle says. It's true. It's all through the paper. You are slim. Well, the task force might be true, but their intentions are bullshit. It's a smokescreen. Half the senior cops around here have their Christmas holidays funded by Titus. No bastard round here wants to stop the drugs coming because no bastard round here wants to stop Titus's gravy train. Task Force Janus isn't cops around here, I say. It's the Australian Federal Police. They're focusing on the borders. They're catching them out at sea before they even reach the beach. So, soon supply won't meet demand, I say. There'll be 1,000 junkies running around Darra and Ipswich looking to score, but the only people with the gear will be the AFP, and they won't be selling. So? Lyle says. So we buy up now. Buy up once and buy up big. Stick that gear in the ground, bury it for a year, 2 years, let the AFP turn that stash into diamond. Lyle turns to me, looks me up and down. I think you need to stop hanging around with Darren Dang, he says. Bad move, I say. Darren's our in with Bick. You keep dropping me around at Darren's house, and then you keep chatting to Bick like the responsible, loving guardian you are, and she eventually trusts you enough to sell you 10 kilograms of heroin. You've lost the plot, kid, Lyle says. I've been asking Darren about market prices. He says 10 kilos of heroin sold at current prices of $15 a gram would earn us $150,000. You let that stash sit for a year or two, I guarantee you'd fetch sale prices of $18, $19, $20 a gram. You can buy a decent house in the Gap for $71,000. We'd have enough for 2 houses with change left over to put in-ground swimming pools in both. And what happens when Titus finds out I'm running a little operation on the side and he sends Ivan Kroll out for some answers? I have no reply to that. I keep walking. There's an empty can of Solo soft drink sitting in the gutter that I kick with my right shoe. It bounces into the middle of the bitumen street. You want to pick that up? What? The fucking can, Eli. Lyle says, frustrated. Look at this place. Fucking abandoned trolleys sitting in the park, chip wrappers and fucking used nappies lying all over the joint. When I was a kid, these streets were clean as a whistle. People gave a shit about these streets. This place was just as pretty as your precious Gap. I tell you, that's how it starts. Mums and dads in Darra start dropping used nappies in the street. Next thing you know, they're lighting tyres up outside the Sydney Opera House. That's how Australia turns to shit, with you just kicking that Solo can into the middle of the street. I reckon widespread suburban heroin use might be a quicker road to ruin, I suggest. Just pick up the can, smart ass. I pick up the can. The drop in the lake, I say. The what? Lyle says. The ripple effect, I say, raising the Solo can. What do I do with it? Put it in that bin there, Lyle says. I drop it in a black bin on the curbside that's stuffed full of Silvio's pizza boxes and empty beer bottles. We walk on. What's the drop in the lake? Lyle asks. Just a theory about my life. We watch Mum and August now, zigzagging through the segmented pole fences lining the park. The drop in the lake was Mum's old man leaving her when she was a kid, I say. That's what starts every ripple in her life. The old man takes off, leaves Grandma to look after 6 kids in a shoebox in Sydney's western suburbs. Mum's the eldest, so she drops out of school at 14 to get a job and help Grandma pay the bills and put food on the table. Then after 2 or 3 years, she gets pissed off at Grandma because she had dreams, you know? She wanted to be a lawyer or some shit and help all those poor rat kids of Sydney's West stay out of Silverwater. She takes off, hitchhiking around Australia, gets all the way across the Nullarbor, all the way to Western Australia, where she waits tables in the Rose and Crown Hotel, and some sick fuck holds a knife up to her neck on her way home one night, and he throws her into his car and drives off up some dark highway, and who knows what the fuck he's going to do to her. But he slows his car at some roadworks along this highway where a road gang is widening the road at night, and Mum, bravest woman in the world, just dives out of this car that's going 50 clicks, and she breaks her right arm on the bitumen and cuts her legs up, but she's smart enough to get up and sprint like she sprinted when she was a girl who won every school sprint she ran in, and she runs towards the lights of this road gang as this sick fuck in the car starts reversing back down the dark highway. But Mum makes it to a mobile tea room where 3 road workers are inside having a smoko, and Mum screams in hysterics about what just happened. One bloke bolts out the door to find the sick fuck's car screeching up the highway, and this bloke comes back to the tea room and says, "You're safe now, you're safe." And that road gang bloke is Robert Bell, my old man. Lyle stops on the spot. "Fuck," he says. "She never told you about the drop in the lake?" "No, Eli. She never told me." We walk on. "You really think Titus would send Ivan Kroll after us?" I ask. "Business is business, kid," Lyle says. "That true? All that stuff about him?" I ask. "What stuff?" "Darren told me about what he does with the bodies. Is it true?" "I've never cared to find out, Eli. And if you know what's good for you, you'll stop asking questions about what Ivan Kroll likes to do with the bodies of dead criminals." We walk on. "So, where are we going tomorrow?" I ask. Lyle takes a deep breath, sighs. You're going to school, he says. So what are we doing Saturday? I say, unwavering, unsinkable. Teddy and I have some runs through Logan City. Can we come? No, Lyle says. We'll just sit in the car. What the hell you want to do that for? I told you, I can watch things. And what do you expect to see, Eli? The same things I saw tonight. The things that you can't see. What things? Things like Teddy falling in love with Mum. Boy loses luck. A drop in the lake. Mum is asked to be on the organising committee for the school fete that must meet every Saturday for the next month. She wants to do it because she never does that stuff. She hates all those parents and friends' cows, but that doesn't mean she doesn't want to feel like one of them every so often. Then Slim's chest starts playing up, and his piss turns the colour of rust, and his doctor tells him he has pneumonia. He's holed up resting in a small rental unit in Redcliffe on the other side of Brisbane to us. Mum and Lyle don't have a babysitter to watch over August and me on Saturdays. Spring, 1986. I'm a high school kid. As opposed to looking out the windows of Darra State School, I take the bus each day with August now to look out the windows of Richland State High School in Inala. I'm 13 years old, and like any self-respecting Queensland teenager with a deeper voice and bigger balls, I want to experience new things, like spending this next month of Saturdays with Lyle on his heroin runs. I subtly remind Mum about August's and my burning fascination with burning things whenever we don't have adult supervision. Why, just the other day, I mention, I'd watched August set fire to a petrol-covered globe we'd found dumped beside a Lifeline charity bin in Oxley. Gonna set the world on fire, I hollered, as August held his magnifying glass over Australia and a hot, apocalyptic dot of magnified sunlight descended over the city of Brisbane. I'll take them to the Jindalee pool, Lyle says. They can have a swim for a few hours. Teddy and I will make the run, then we'll grab them on the way home. Mum looks at August and me. What do you have left on your homework? Just the maths, I say. August nods. Same as Eli. You should have done the maths first. Got the hard stuff out of the way first, Mum says. Sometimes life doesn't work like that, Mum, I say. Sometimes you just can't get the hard stuff out of the way first. Tell me about it, she says. All right, you can go to the pool, but you two better have your homework done by the time I get home. No problem. But we get to Jindalee Pool and it's closed because the owner is laying a new lining across the empty 50-metre pool. Fuck! Lyle barks. Teddy is in the driver's seat because he owns this 1976 olive green Mazda sedan, a mobile kiln even in spring, with hot brown vinyl passenger seats that stick to the undersides of my thighs, August's too, because he's wearing the same grey Kmart shorts. Teddy looks at his watch. We've got to be at Jamboree Heights in 7 minutes, he says. Fuck, Lyle says, shaking his head. Let's go. We pull up outside a 2-storey house in Jamboree Heights. The house is made of yellow brick with a large aluminium garage door and a staircase running up the front of the house to a landing where a young shirtless Maori boy, maybe 5 years old, is furiously skipping on the spot with a pink plastic jump rope. It's so hot outside that the road bitumen through my car window shimmers with glassy mirage pockets of hot air. Lyle and Teddy pause for a moment to scan the landscape, look into the car's rear view mirror and side mirrors. Teddy pops the boot. They exit the Mazda at the same time and walk to the back of the car, close the boot. Lyle walks back to the front passenger door carrying a blue plastic chill box and leans into the car. "You two just sit here and behave yourselves, all right?" he says. He goes to shut the door. "You got to be kidding, Lyle," I say. "What?" "It must be 50 degrees in here," I say. "We'll be fried in 10 minutes flat." Lyle sighs, takes a deep breath. He looks around, spots a small tree by the footpath. "All right, wait under that tree over there," he says. "And what'll we say when the neighbour comes out and asks us why we're sitting under this tree?" I ask. "Just making a quick drug deal, mate. Don't mind us." "You're really starting to piss me off, Eli," he says, shutting his door hard. Then he opens the door on August's side. "Come on," he says, "but not a fucking word." We pass the kid with the skipping rope and he watches us, yellow snot resting at the bottom of his nose. "Hey," I say, passing. The kid says nothing. Lyle knocks his knuckle against a security screen doorframe. "That you, Lyle?" comes a call from the dark living room. "Come on in, bro." We enter the house. Lyle, then Teddy, then August, then me. Two Maori men are resting on brown armchairs beside an empty 3-seat couch. Smoke fills the living room. The men have full ashtrays on the armrests of their chairs. One man is skinny with Maori tattoos across his left cheek. The other is the fattest man I've ever seen in my life, and he's the one who speaks. "Lyle, Ted," he says by way of greeting. "Ezra?" Lyle says. Ezra wears black shorts and a black floppy shirt, and his legs are so big that the fat around his thighs spills over his kneecaps, so the middle of his legs look like the faces of walruses without tusks. It's not the size of the man that I dwell on, though. It's the size of his black t-shirt, big enough to be a shade cover for Teddy's Mazda parked outside in the sun. The skinny man is leaning forward in his armchair, peeling the jackets off a bowl of potatoes on a portable tray. "Fuck, Lyle," Ezra says, smiling as he looks at August and me. "That's some prize parenting right there, my friend, bringing your kids to a drug deal." Ezra slaps his leg, looks at his skinny, tattoo-faced friend, who says nothing. "Papara of the year, eh, cuz?" "They're not my kids," Lyle says. A woman enters the living room. "Well, I'll take them if they're not yours, Lyle," she says, smiling at August and me as she sits down on the couch. She's barefoot, in a black singlet, a Maori woman with a tribal tattoo ringing her upper right arm. A line of tattooed dots runs across her right temple. She carries a portable tray of her own filled with carrots and sweet potatoes and a quarter of a pumpkin. "Sorry, Elsie," Lyle says. "They're Frankie's kids." "Thought they were too handsome to be your Tamariki Tane," she says. She gives August a wink. He smiles back. "How many years you been looking after these boys, Lyle?" Elsie asks. "About 8 or 9 years I've known them," Lyle says. Elsie looks at August and me. 8, 9 years, she echoes. "What do you reckon, boys? Reckon it's fair enough to say you're his kids now?" August nods his head. Elsie turns to me for a response. "Reckon that's fair enough," I say. Ezra and the skinny man are engrossed in a movie on TV featuring a hulking bronzed warrior at the head of a great ancient feast. "What is best in life?" says a man on the screen dressed like Genghis Khan. The bronzed warrior has his legs crossed, muscles like iron, a headband like a crown. "Crush your enemies," says the bronzed warrior, "to see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of their women." August and I are temporarily spellbound by this man. "Who's that?" I ask. "That's Arnold Schwarzenegger, bro," Ezra says. "Conan the Barbarian." Arnold Schwarzenegger is mesmerizing. This motherfucker's gonna be huge. Ezra says. What's it about? I ask. It's about warriors, bro, and wizards and swords and sorcery, Ezra says. But most of all, it's about revenge. Conan's travelling the world trying to find the bastard who fed his dad to dogs and chopped off his mum's head. I spot the video cassette recorder sitting beneath the television. You got a Sony Betamax? I gasp. Of course, mate, Ezra says. Better resolution, high fidelity sounds, no fuzz, improved contrast, improved luminance noise. August and I dive immediately to the carpet to stare at the machine. What's luminance noise? I ask. Fucked if I know, Ezra says. That's what they wrote on the box. By the television is a bookshelf filled with black Betamax tapes with white sticky labels marked with movie titles. Hundreds of them. Some titles have been crossed out with blue ballpoint pen, and other titles have been scribbled in beside them. Raiders of the Lost Ark, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, Rocky III, Time Bandits, Clash of the Titans. August points his finger at one cassette in particular. You got Excalibur! I holler. Shit yeah, bro. Ezra beams. Helen Mirren, man. Smoking hot, that crazy witch. I nod heartily. Merlin, I say. Crazy bastard, Ezra rejoices. I scan the videos. You got all the Star Wars. What's the best Star Wars? Ezra asks, with a tone that suggests he already knows the answer. Empire, I say. Correct, he says. Best bit? Yoda's cave in Dagobah, I say without contemplation. Oh, shit, Lyle, you got a deep one here, Ezra says. Lyle shrugs, rolls a cigarette from a packet of White Ox in his pocket. Don't know the fuck you're talking about, he says. Luke finds Vader in the cave and kills him. And then the mask blows open and Luke's looking at himself, Ezra says mystically. Strange shit, bro. What's this one's name? Lyle points at me. That's Eli, he says. Points at August. That's August. Hey, Eli, what's up with that cave shit? He asks. What's that shit mean, little bro? I keep looking at the video movie titles as I talk. The cave's the world, and it's like Yoda says, the only thing in the cave is what you take in there with you. I reckon Luke already senses who his old man is. He already knows deep down. He's shit scared of meeting his dad because he's shit scared of the stuff that's already inside him, the dark side that's already in his blood. The living room goes quiet for a moment. August shoots me a long look. He nods knowingly, raising his eyebrows. Cool, Ezra says. Lyle places the blue chill box down by Ezra's chair. Got you boys some beers, Lyle says. Ezra nods his head to the skinny man, which is communication enough to cause the skinny man to hop up from his armchair and open the chill box. He digs his hand deep into the box filled with beer bottles and ice. He pulls out a rectangular block wrapped in a thick black plastic bag. He passes it immediately to Elsie. She screws up her face. You can check it, Rua, for fuck's sake, she says. The skinny man looks at Ezra for guidance. Ezra is engrossed in the movie, but he allows time for one eye to dart towards Elsie, followed by a head nod towards the kitchen. Elsie hops up from the couch in a storm of sharp movements and snatches the black block from Rua's hand. Fucking dumb fucks, she says. She summons a smile for August and me. You boys want to come and choose a soft drink? She asks. We look at Lyle. He nods approval. We follow her into the kitchen. Rua passes beers to Ezra, Lyle and Teddy. When you Queenslanders going to get another beer other than bloody 4X bitter? Ezra asks. We do have another beer, Teddy says, sitting back in the 3-seat couch to watch Conan the Barbarian. We got 4x draft! It's almost 1 p.m. when we're eating potato scallops at a snack bar along the Moorooka Magic Mile, the stretch of road in Moorooka 15 minutes drive from Jamboree Heights, where people across Brisbane come to buy their cars from a strip of dealerships that range in quality and prestige from all our cars have airbags to all our cars have windscreens. We sit around a white, round plastic table, eating from a ripped-open brown paper bag parcel of battered potato scallops, beef croquettes, seafood sticks, large bright yellow dim sims, and hot chips made from old oil, so they look like bent cigarette butts and taste about as good. "Who wants the last beef croquette?" Teddy asks. Teddy's the only one who's been eating the beef croquettes. Teddy's always the only one who eats the beef croquettes. "All yours, Teddy," I say. August and I sip from purple cans of Kirk's Pasito, our second favourite soft drink. Slim put us on to Pasito. He drinks nothing but Kirk's soft drinks because they're from Queensland, and he says he knew an old bloke who worked for the original Kirk's company, which was actually the Halidon Spa Water Company, which made a name for itself in the 1880s, bottling the restorative spring waters of Halidon near Toowoomba, which local Aboriginals said gave them the strength they needed to fend off any greedy souls who might want to exploit the benefits of their personally significant spring water supplies. I've never tasted the natural spring waters of Halidon, but I doubt they match the sweet, restorative powers of an ice-cold sarsaparilla. "Elsie had big sarse," I say, selectively biting my potato scallop in an attempt to create the shape of Australia. August's biting his so it looks like a ninja star. "She had a whole shelf of small soft drink cans. She had the whole Kirk's range, lemon squash, creaming soda, old stony ginger beer, you name it." Lyle's rolling himself another white ox. "You see anything else, Captain Details, when you went with Elsie into the kitchen?" he asks. "Yeah, saw heaps," I say. "She had a whole pack of unopened iced Vovo biscuits in the fridge on the shelf above the vegetable trays. I reckon they must have had ribbits last night because there was a silver takeaway box on the shelf above the iced Vovos, and even though the takeaway box had a lid on it and I couldn't see inside it, I knew it was ribbits because I could see the ribbits barbecue sauce spilling over the edge of the box, and there is no barbecue sauce like ribbits barbecue sauce." Lyle lights his rolled smoke. "Any details you picked up that weren't related to what Elsie had in her fridge?" he asks, turning his head to the right to avoid blowing smoke over the potato scallops. "Yeah, saw heaps," I say, shoving 3 chips into my mouth, cold now and losing their crunch. "There was a Maori weapon hanging on the wall above the kitchen bench, and I asked Elsie what it was, and she said it was called a mere. It was a big club, shaped like a leaf and made of something called greenstone, and it was passed down through generations in her family. And she stood at the sink, carefully cutting the wrapping on your heroin block on the kitchen sink bench and levelling a set of kitchen scales. And as she did this, she told me about the horrible things her great-great-great-great-grandfather Hamiora did with this club. Like once, there was this chief named Marama from another tribe who was always bullying and intimidating Hamiora's tribe, and when Hamiora visited this rival chief's HQ, "I don't know if ancient Maori chiefs had HQs," Teddy says. "His hut, the big rival chief's hut," I clarify. "When Hamiora visited Marama's hut, the rival chief began to laugh at the size and shape of Hamiora's mere because it looked so unthreatening, like a stone rolling pin or something you might use to roll out your biscuits, and Hamiora was in the centre of all these rival warriors as Marama was making jokes about him and encouraging his people to laugh and joke about Hamiora's family weapon, and Hamiora started laughing along with them, and then Hamiora, quicker than you can say jam drop biscuit, struck Marama across the head with this ancient family weapon they'd all been laughing about." I pick up a small dim sim. Old Humiora could wield his greenstone club the way Viv Richards wields a cricket bat, and he specialised in this forearm thrust move where he hit someone in the temple, but at the point of impact, he gave the club a sharp twist. I break the top third of the small dim sim off in one tear. He knocked Marama's whole skull cap off in one blow, and the rest of the tribe was so stunned by the scene, they didn't have time to draw their weapons when the rest of Humiora's men, all distant relatives of Elsie's as well, sprang from some bushes and attacked the dumbstruck rival tribesmen. I dropped the skullcap end of the dim sim in my mouth, and as Elsie's telling this story, she's carefully unwrapping the gear and not really looking at where my eyes are, and I'm saying things like, "Yeah, really?" and "No way," like I'm really engrossed in the story, but at the same time, my eyes are looking all over the kitchen for details. The right eye's where it should be, but I got that loose left eye darting about all over the place, taking things in. Lyle and Teddy sneak a brief look at each other. Lyle shakes his head. When August and I duck down to look inside the fridge at Elsie's collection of Kirk soft drinks, she doesn't realise I've actually got a busy eye looking at her at the bench with the gear, and she takes a sharp knife and slices a few edges off the smack block like she's shaving thin slices of cheddar from a block of coon. And she gathers these shavings into a little 1-gram ball and she scrapes it into a small black plastic photographic film canister with a grey lid. She puts this canister into the pocket of her jeans and then she wraps the block back up and takes it out to you guys in the lounge room, and you guys have got your heads glued to Conan the Barbarian, and she says, "All good," and nobody says shit back to her. Then she comes back into the kitchen and she finishes telling me this ancient yarn about great-great-great-great-grandfather Chief Humiora and dumb Chief Marama, and I'm seeing all these details, like there's a bunch of mail by their phone, letters from the council and bills from Telecom, and then there's a piece of paper with all these names and numbers on it, and your name and number is on there, Lyle, and Titus's name was on there, and then there was a Kylie and a Mel, and a number next to someone named Snapper, and another number next to Dustin Vang. "Dustin Vang?" Teddy says, turning to Lyle, who nods his head, raising his eyebrows. "Makes sense," Lyle says. "Who's Dustin Vang?" I ask. "If Big Dang was Humiora, then Dustin Vang would be her Marama," Lyle says. "Here's good news," Teddy says. "Why?" I ask. "Healthy competition," Teddy says. "If Bick isn't the only importer on the block, it's good news for Titus because Bick will have to start offering more competitive prices, and maybe she won't take such pleasure anymore from fucking us in the arse. Not good news for Titus, though, if Ezra is thinking about going direct to a new supplier," Lyle says. "I'll have a chat to Titus." Teddy chuckles. "Not bad, Captain Details." Nothing connects a city quite like Southeast Asian heroin. This glorious month of Saturdays, with the Jindalee pool shut for renovations, find Lyle, Teddy, August and me crisscrossing the city of Brisbane between every cultural minority, every gang, every obscure subculture my sprawling and hot city nurses in its sweaty bosom. The Italians in South Brisbane, the collar-up rugby crowd in Ballymore, the drummers and guitarists and the buskers and the busted bands of Fortitude Valley. "You can't say a word about this to your mum, you hear?" Lyle says as we pull up outside the Highgate Hill-based state headquarters of a national neo-Nazi group, White Hammer, led by a softly spoken and thin 25-year-old man named Timothy, who is open enough to tell Lyle during a genial exchange of cash and drugs that he does not actually shave his skinhead, but is, in fact, naturally bald, which makes me silently consider what struck him first along his unique philosophical journey, the notion of white supremacy or that of white male pattern baldness. I don't know what I expected from drug dealing. More romance, perhaps, a sense of danger and suspense. I realise now that the average street grunt suburban drug dealer is not too far removed from the common pizza delivery boy. Half these deals Lyle and Teddy are making, I could make in half the time, riding through the southwest Brisbane suburbs on my Mongoose BMX with the gear in my backpack. August could probably do it even faster, because he rides faster than me, and he's got a 10-speed Malvern Star Racer. August and I do our maths homework in the back of Teddy's Mazda as we cross the Story Bridge from north to south and south to north. The Bridge of Stories. Stories like the one about the boys who beat the fire. Stories like the one about the mute boy and his little brother who never asked for anything but the answers to the questions. August holds a 10-digit scientific pocket calculator he got for his birthday, tapping numbers and turning the calculator upside down to form words. 7738461375 equals sleigh bell. 5318008 equals boobies. He taps another bunch of numbers, proudly shows me the calculator screen. Eli Bell. Hey Teddy, I ask. At a school carnival, 20 out of 80 tickets sold were early admission tickets. What percentage of early admission tickets were sold? Teddy looks into the rearview mirror. Come on, mate. For fuck's sake, how many 20s go into 80? 4. So 20 is a quarter of the tickets. Correct. Quarter of 100 is 25%. Yes, mate, Teddy says, shaking his head, stunned. Fuck me, Lyle. Don't leave your tax return up to these two, all right? Tax return? Lyle says, feigning puzzlement. That one of those algebra principles? The drug runs must be done on Saturdays because most of the third-tier drug dealers Lyle sells to have day jobs during the week. Titus Brosh is first tier. Lyle is second tier. Lyle sells to third-tier drug dealers who, in turn, sell to the man or woman on the street or, in Kev Hunt's case, the man or woman out at sea. Kev is a trawler fisherman who has a side business as a third-tier drug dealer, supplying many of the users in the Moreton Bay prawn trawling scene. He's out at sea most weekdays, so we make a drive out to his place in Bald Hills on a Saturday, just as he likes it. It's good business. Lyle adapts to his clients' needs. Shane Bridgman, for example, is a lawyer in the city who has a side business as a third-tier drug dealer for the George Street legal set. He's always at work and never at home during the week, but he sure doesn't want any drug deals taking place in his office, 3 buildings down from the Queensland Supreme Court. So we make a drive out to his place in Wilston, in the inner northern suburbs. He makes the deal in his sunroom while his wife bakes blueberry muffins in the kitchen and their son bowls medium paces at a black bin in the backyard. Lyle is masterful in these Saturday deals. He's a diplomat, a cultural ambassador, a representative of his boss, Titus Brosh, a conduit between the king and his people. Lyle says he approaches a drug deal in the same way he approaches Mum when she's in a bad mood. Stay on your toes. Stay alert. Don't let them stand too close to the kitchen knives. Be flexible, patient, adaptable. The buyer/angry mum is always right. Lyle bends his emotions to the buyer's/mum's feelings at any given moment. When a Chinese property developer bitches about council red tape, he nods his head empathetically. When the head of the Bandidos motorcycle gang bitches about the poor quality of the revving in his Harley-Davidson motorcycle, Lyle nods with what looks to me like genuine concern. And this is the same look he gave Mum the other night when she was bemoaning the fact that Mum and Lyle never make an attempt to befriend any of the other parents at our school. Just make the deal, kiss the woman you love, take the wages, and get out of the room alive. On our last Saturday drug run, Lyle tells August and me about the underground room with the red phone. Lyle built the room himself, dug it out from the bottom up, dug a hole deep in the ground beneath the cramped space under the house that August and I were never allowed to crawl into, and up into the house. A secret space built from 1,300 bricks bought from the Darra Brickworks. A secret room where Mum and Lyle could store large boxes of weed in their formative dope-dealing days. "What do you use it for now you're not running weed?" I ask. "It's for a rainy day when I need to run away and hide," he says. "From who?" "From anyone," he says. "What's the phone for?" I ask. Teddy looks across at Lyle. "It's connected to a line that goes straight to another red phone just like it in Titus's house in Balbowie," Lyle says. Lyle looks into the back seat to gauge our reactions. "So it was Titus we were speaking to that day?" "No," he says. "No, Eli." We share a long look in the rearview mirror. "You weren't speaking to anyone at all." He steps on the gas, speeds onto our last job. "I felt something today I've never felt before," Mum says, forking spaghetti onto our dinner plates at the dinner table. The same laminated green Formica table with metal legs that Lyle ate cherry babka at as a boy. Today was the school fete. For 8 hours beneath a hot Saturday sun, Mum was in charge of 3 Sideshow Alley stalls on the Richland State High School oval. She ran the fish pond game where, for 50 cents, kids were tasked with hooking flat styrofoam fish with a curtain rod and string. Underneath these fish was a colour-coded sticker that corresponded with a colour-coded novelty toy prize worth approximately the value of the pony shit I stepped on today by the Uncle Bob's Barnyard Animal display. The most popular game of the whole Sideshow Alley, by some way, was an original game that Mum developed herself, piggybacking on the irresistible pull of Star Wars to raise much-needed funds for the Richland State High School Parents and Friends Association. Her Han Solo Master Blaster Challenge asked potential saviours of the galaxy to dislodge 3 of August and my Imperial Stormtroopers balanced on stands placed at increasingly ambitious distances using a large water pistol she painted black to resemble Han's trusty blaster. She placed the target stormtroopers masterfully, putting the first 2 at more than achievable distances, thus filling her largely 5 to 12-year-old customers up on the addictive luster of early success, but placing the 3rd and final stormtrooper at such a distance that a child would need to access and bend the powers of the Force to land a long and arcing single prize-winning water pistol shot. Mum was also, however, in charge of the fate's least popular attraction, Popstick Pandemonium. 100 popsticks, 10 marked with prize-winning stars, in a wheelbarrow full of sand. She could have promised the very meaning of life at the end of every one of those popsticks, and she still would have made $6.50 over 8 hours. "I felt like part of the community," Mum says. "I felt like I belonged, you know?" I watch Lyle smiling at her. He has his right fist to his chin. All she's doing is dumping large spoonfuls of her bolognese sauce with extra bacon and rosemary onto our plates, but Lyle is looking at her wide-eyed and awed, like she's playing Paint It Black on a golden harp with strings made of fire. "That's great, hun," Lyle says. Teddy calls from the kitchen. "Beer, Lyle." "Yeah, mate," Lyle says. "In the door shelf." Teddy's staying for dinner. Teddy's always staying for dinner. "That's great, Frankie," Teddy says, entering the living room from the kitchen. He wraps an arm around Mum's shoulder unnecessarily. Holds her unnecessarily. "We're proud of you, matey," he says, all buddy-buddy-like. I mean, like, give me a fucking break, Ted. Right here at Lena and O'Reilly's table? "I might be mistaken, but is there a new little twinkle in those blue eyes?" he says. He rubs his right thumb across Mum's cheekbone. Lyle and I share a glance. August shoots a look at me. Get a load of this shit. Right here in front of his best friend. I've never trusted this fucking guy. Comes across all nice as pie, but it's those nice as pie fucks you really got to watch out for, Eli. I can't tell who he's in love with more, Mum, Lyle, or himself. I nod, hearing you, brother. I don't know. Mum shrugs, a little embarrassed by her sunny disposition. It just felt good to be part of something so boring, I offer. Suburban? Mum smiles, holding a spoonful of bolognese mince in mid-air as she thinks. So normal, she says. She dumps the mince on top of my pasta and gives me one of those quick and beautiful half-smiles that she can send down a one-way corridor of devotion directly to the person she is aiming it at. A tunnel of lifelong love invisible to all others, yet I know August has a tunnel just like it, and Lyle does too. It's great, Mum, I say, and I've never been more serious in my life. I reckon normal suits you. I reach for the Kraft Parmesan cheese that smells like August's vomit. I sprinkle cheese flakes across my spaghetti and I dig my fork into Mum's pasta and twirl the fork twice. Then, Titus Brosh walks into our living room. The top of my spine knows him best. The top of my spine recognises all that white hair and that white suit and the gritted white teeth in his forced smile. The rest of me is frozen and confused, but my spine knows that Titus Brosh really is walking into our living room, and it shivers from top to bottom, and I shudder involuntarily, like I do sometimes when I'm taking a piss in the troughs of Lyle's favourite pub, the Regatta Hotel in Toowong. Lyle's mouth is full of pasta when he sees Titus, watches him, stunned, as he paces into our house, somehow finding his way in from the back door, beyond the kitchen, past the toilet. Lyle says his name like a question. Titus? August and Mum are facing Lyle and me across the table, and they turn their bodies around to see Titus walking in, followed by another man, bigger than Titus, darker eyes, darker mood. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Fuck me. What's he doing here? Ivan Kroll, and two more of Titus's muscle goon thugs walking in behind Ivan. They wear rubber flip-flops like Ivan Kroll, tight stubbies shorts, and tucked-in button-up collared cotton shirts. One of them is wiry and bald, and the other is heavy, with an upturned smile and 3 chins. Titus, Mum says, slipping immediately into host mode. She hops up from her chair. Please don't hop up, Francis, Titus says. Ivan Kroll rests a hand gently on Mum's shoulder, and something in the gesture tells her to sit back down. It's now that I see he's carrying an army green duffel bag, which he drops silently onto the living room floor by the table. Teddy is holding a fork in his right hand. He has 2 paper towels stuffed into the neckline of his dark blue Bonds shirt, and his lips are red with bolognese sauce, like a clown who smudges his lipstick. Titus, is everything okay? Teddy asks. You want to join us for... Titus isn't even looking at Teddy when he puts a forefinger to his mouth and says, shh. He's looking at Lyle. Silence. Maybe a whole minute of silence, or maybe it's just 30 seconds. But it feels like 30 days of thunderclap loud as fuck silent staring between Titus and Lyle. Vantage points and details. A single moment, stretched to infinity. A tattoo on the wiry goon's left arm. Bugs Bunny in a Nazi uniform. August gripping his pasta spoon, nervously thumbing the handle. This moment from Mum's point of view, sitting confused in a loose peach-coloured singlet, her head darting between faces, searching for answers and finding none, but the answer on the face of the only man she has ever really loved. Fear. Then Lyle mercifully cuts the silence. August, he says. August? August? What the fuck does this moment have to do with August? August turns back around and stares at Lyle, and Lyle starts writing something in the air. His right forefinger flows swiftly through the air like a quill, and August's eyes track the flurry of words that I can't make out because I'm not facing him, and I can't spin them around properly in my mirror mind. "What's he doing?" Titus spits. Lyle keeps writing words in the air, swiftly and surely, and August reads them, nodding his head in understanding with every word. "Stop that!" spits Titus. Titus screams, "Stop that shit!" He turns to the heavy goon, and through gritted teeth, he furiously screams, "Please stop him doing that fucking shit!" But Lyle, trance-like, keeps on scribbling words that August registers. Word after scribbled word, until the heavy three-chinned goon thug's right forearm connects with Lyle's nose, and he is thrown back off his chair onto the floor of the living room, his nose erupting with blood that runs down his chin. "Lyle!" I scream, rushing down to him, hugging his chest. "Leave him alone!" Lyle gags on a glob of blood in his mouth. "Jesus Christ, Titus! What's—" Teddy stammers, stopped immediately by the blade point of a sharpened silver bowie knife that Ivan Kroll whips to his chin. This blade is a monster with teeth. It's alien-like and gleaming, hissing on one sharp slicing side and shrieking with a serrated opposite edge, evil metal teeth for hacking things that I can only imagine. Necks, mostly. "You shut the fuck up, Teddy, and you might survive this night," Ivan says. Teddy recoils cautiously in his seat. Titus looks at Lyle on the ground. "Get him out of here," Titus says. The wiry thug joins the heavy thug standing over Lyle, and they drag him along the living room floor for 2 meters, with me hanging onto him around his chest. "Leave him alone!" I scream through tears. "Leave him alone!" They pull Lyle to his feet, and I drop off him, hard to the ground. "I'm sorry, Frankie," Lyle says. "I love you so much, Frankie. I'm so sorry, Frankie." The wiry thug dives a fist into Lyle's mouth, and Mum rounds the living room table with a bowl of her spaghetti bolognese that she cracks over the head of the sucker-punching goon. "Let him go!" she screams. The caged animal that spent a lifetime inside her and has only seen daylight 3 or 4 times wraps its arms around the neck of the heavy thug. Mum's monster digging its full-moon wolf fingernails deep into the cheeks and face. So deep the thug's skin comes off in scratches of fury and blood. She's howling now, like she did when she was locked away for all those days in Lena's room. Banshee wails, terrifying and primal. I've never been so scared in my life, of Mum, of Titus Brosh, of Lyle's blood on my hands and face as he's dragged on down the hallway of the house. "Stop that, bitch!" Titus says calmly. Ivan Kroll rushes around the kitchen table, bowie knife in his right hand, and August rushes around the table from the opposite side and meets Ivan Kroll at the start of the hallway. He raises his fists like an old 1920s boxer. Ivan Kroll instantly swipes the blade at August's face, and August ducks this attack. But it was only a diversion for Ivan Kroll's swift left leg kick that sweeps August's feet off the ground so he lands heavily on his back. "Don't you two dare fucking move!" Ivan Kroll barks at us as he rushes down the hall behind Mum. "Mum, behind you!" I shout. But she's too rabid to register, desperately clutching at Lyle's arms, trying to drag him back down the hallway. Ivan Kroll switches the bowie knife into his left hand and, with 2 impossibly quick and hard backhand thrusts, drives the knife's handle butt into Mum's left temple. She drops to the floor, her head hanging loosely over her left shoulder, her right calf bent back behind her right thigh, like she's a crash test dummy who's hit one too many walls. "Frankie!" Lyle screams as he's dragged out of the front door. "Frankie!" August and I rush to Mum, but Ivan Kroll meets us in the hallway and drags us back to the dinner table. Our spindly 13 and 14-year-old legs not powerful enough to get a firm grip on the ground to fight back against the force of the killer's furious dragging. He's pulling me so hard, my shirt's popping up over my head, and all I can see is the orange cotton blanket of the shirt front, and darkness. He throws us onto the dining table chairs. Our backs are turned to Mum, who's lying in the hallway unconscious. Or worse, I don't know. "Sit the fuck down," Ivan Kroll says. I'm struggling to breathe in the fear and the violence and the confusion. Ivan Kroll takes a rope from the army green duffel bag. In a flurry of movement, he wraps the rope around August 3 times and ties him tight to his dining chair. "What are you doing?" I spit. Tears and snot are pouring through my nose, and I can barely stay upright on my seat. But August just sits quietly on his seat with a closed-mouthed snarl directed at Titus Brosh, who is staring back at August. I'm heaving deep gasps of air between tears, and I can't seem to get enough in my lungs, and Titus is bothered by it. "Breathe, for fuck's sake! Breathe!" he says. August reaches his right foot out and rests it on my left foot. It calms me, but I don't know why. I breathe. "That's it," Titus says. He snaps a sharp look at Teddy, sitting stunned at the head of the table. "Leave." "They don't know shit, these boys, Titus," Teddy offers urgently. Titus is already staring back at August when he addresses Teddy's words. "I won't say it again," he says. Teddy hops to his feet, rushes out of the living room and down the hallway, stepping over Mum's unconscious body along the way. Even through all my fear and concern for Mum in the hallway, and for Lyle, who's being dragged to hell knows where, there's still room enough in my thoughts for the notion that Teddy is a gutless prick. This is the end of CD 4. The book continues on CD 5. CD 5. With August tied to his chair, unable to move his arms, Ivan Kroll stands directly behind me, the Bowie knife in his right hand by his waist. I can feel him behind me, smell him behind me. Titus breathes deep himself. He shakes his head, frustrated. "Now, boys, please allow me to fully illuminate the unfortunate situation you two find yourselves in," he says. "If through the course of this discussion it appears I am going too fast for your youthful ears, it is only because in roughly 15 minutes, and as soon as I exit this miserable house, 2 senior police detectives will enter this house through the front door to arrest your mother, supposing, of course, she remains in the land of the living, for her significant role as a courier, the head of a growing outer western Brisbane heroin supply ring run by Lyle Orlick, who, as of approximately 2 minutes ago, has mysteriously vanished off the face of the planet." "Where are you taking him?" I shout. "I'm going to tell the police everything. It's you!" I'm standing up now, and I don't even realise it. I'm spitting now. I'm pointing now. "It's you! You're behind everything! You're fucking evil!" A hard slap from Ivan Kroll across my cheek drops me back down into my chair. Titus turns and paces across the living room. He comes to a cabinet and picks up an old figurine of Lena's, a Polish salt miner made out of salt from a carnivorous salt mine Lena's ancestors helped build in southern Poland. You are right, and you are wrong, young man. Titus says, No, you will not tell the police everything, because they will not speak to you. But yes, I am indeed as you describe. I came to terms with that fact long ago. But I am not so evil as to drag children into the works of evil men. I'll leave that to the men like Lyle. He places the salt mine figurine back on the cabinet. Do you boys know what loyalty is? Titus asks. We don't answer. He smiles. That's a kind of loyalty in itself. You're not answering, he says. You remain loyal to a man you do not know, a man whose disloyalty to me has placed you in the position you now find yourselves in. He turns on the spot, clears his throat, thinks some more. Now, I have a question to ask you boys, and before you answer it, or choose not to answer it, I simply ask that you briefly consider not putting the loyalty you have for Lyle before the loyalty you have to yourselves, because, as cruel fate has so tragically determined, yourselves are precisely all you two appear to have now. I look across at August. He doesn't look across at me. Titus nods at Yvonne Kroll, and, in an instant, Yvonne Kroll has a firm and immovable grip on my right hand. His forceful arms plant my palm on the green top of Lena's dining table, right next to the bowl of spaghetti I was eating before the world collapsed in on itself, before the mountains crumbled into the sea, before the stars fell from the sky and formed this terrifying evening. What the fuck are you doing? I can smell his underarms. I can smell his Old Spice cologne, and his clothes smell like cigarettes. He's leaning over me with his weight on my right forearm, and his big hands have bones of iron, and they are trying to spread my right forefinger out, my lucky forefinger with my lucky freckle on my lucky middle knuckle. My hand instinctively makes a fist, but he's so strong and he's wild on the inside, and I can feel that through his hands, his black electricity, his lack of reason, no emotion other than rage. He squeezes my fist hard, and my forefinger pops out, rests flat on the table. I'm going to be sick. August looks across at my finger flat on the table. What did he say, August? Titus says. August looks back at Titus. What did he just write, August? Titus asks. August feigns a puzzled look, confused. Titus nods at Yvonne Kroll behind me, and then the blade of the Bowie knife is touching my forefinger, just above the bottom knuckle. Vomit. In my stomach. In my throat. Time slowing. He scribbled a message in the air. Titus spits. What did he say, August? The blade comes down harder onto my finger, draws blood, and I draw breath. He doesn't talk, Titus! I scream. He doesn't talk! He couldn't tell you even if he wanted to! August keeps staring at Titus, and Titus keeps staring at August. What did he say, August? Titus asks. August looks at my finger. Yvonne Kroll presses the blade down harder. So hard now it's cut through all my skin and flesh, and it's lodging into my finger bone. We don't know, Titus! Please! I scream. We don't know! Dizzy now. Frantic. Cold sweat. Titus stares deep into August's eyes. He nods again at Yvonne Kroll, and he pushes the Bowie knife down harder. Old Spice. And his breath. And that blade. That endless blade digging into my bone marrow. My marrow. My weak marrow. My weak fingers. I howl in pain. A wail so unbridled and raw, it rounds out with a high-pitched squeal from white pain and shock and disbelief. Please don't! I howl through tears. Please don't do this! The blade goes deeper still, and I roar with agony. Then a voice joins the sounds in the room from a place I can't register. A voice to my left that I couldn't hear properly over my screams. But this voice makes Ivan Kroll ease the pressure on the knife. A voice I've never heard before in my conscious life. Titus leans closer to the table, closer to August. Come again? Titus says. Silence. August licks his lips and clears his throat. I have something to say, August says. And the only thing to tell me I'm not dreaming this is the blood running from my lucky forefinger. Titus brightens, nods his head. August looks across at me, and I know that look. That slightly upturned half smile, the way his left eye squints. That's the way he says sorry without saying sorry. That's the way he says sorry for something bad that is about to happen that he is no longer in control of. He turns to Titus Brosh. Your end is a dead blue wren, August says. Titus smiles. He looks at Ivan Kroll, puzzled. He chuckles, a face-saving chuckle, designed to mask something I never expected to see on his face in this moment. There is fear across his face in this moment. I'm sorry, August. Could you please repeat that? Titus asks. August speaks, and he sounds like me. I never knew he would sound like me. Your end is a dead blue wren, he says. Titus scratches his chin, takes a deep breath, thin eyes studying August. Then he nods at Ivan Kroll. And the blade of the Bowie knife smacks against Lena's table, and my lucky forefinger is no longer attached to my hand. My eyelids close and open. Life and the blackness. Home and the blackness. My lucky finger with the lucky freckle resting on the table in a pool of blood. Eyelids close. The blackness. And they open. Titus picks up my finger with a white silk handkerchief, folds it up carefully. Eyelids close. The blackness. And they open. My brother August. Eyelids close. And open. My brother August. Eyelids close. The blackness. Boy busts out. The magic car. The magic flying Holden Kingswood. The magic sky, light blues and pinks outside the window. A cloud so fluffy and big and misshapen, it's a prime candidate for August's game of what's that one look like to you? That's an elephant, I say. There's the big ears left and right, and the trunk going down the middle. Nah, he says, because he talks in the magic car dream. That's an axe. There's the blades, left and right, and the axe handle going down the middle. The car turns in the sky, and we roll along the tan vinyl back seat. Why are we flying? I ask. We always fly, August says, but don't worry, it won't last long. The car dips sharply in the air and takes a leftward arcing drop through the clouds. I look into the car's rearview mirror, the deep blue eyes of Robert Bell, the deep blue eyes of my father. I don't want to be here anymore, Gus, I say, the force of the plummeting car pushing us back hard against our seats. I know, he says, but we always end up here, no matter what I do. It makes no difference. There's water below us, but this is like no water I've seen. This water is silver and it glows, throbbing with silver light. What is that? I ask. It's the moon, says August. The car slams into the glowing silver surface, and the surface breaks into liquid as the car plunges into the suffocating green of a world beneath the sea. The magic Holden Kingswood fills with water, and bubbles flow from our mouths as we stare at each other. August isn't bothered about being underwater like this, not fazed in the slightest. He lifts his right hand and points his right forefinger out, and slowly writes 3 words in the water. Boy swallows universe. And I raise my right hand up because I want to write something back, and I go to extend my right forefinger, but it's not there anymore. Just a blood-filled knuckle hole leaking red blood into the sea. I scream, then the redness, then the blackness. I wake, blurred vision focusing into a white hospital room. The throbbing pain in my right hand sharpens everything. Everything inside me, all my cells and all my blood molecules, rushing and then smashing against the damn wall of the heavily bandaged and taped forefinger knuckle that once connected to my lucky forefinger with the lucky freckle. But wait. The pain isn't so bad now. There's a warm feeling in my belly, a floaty feeling, something fuzzy and giddy and cozy. A liquid drip pulses from the centre of the top of my left hand. So thirsty, so sick, so surreal here. A hard hospital bed and a blanket over me and the smell of antiseptic. A curtain that looks like Lena's old olive green bed sheets is connected to a U-shaped rod surrounding the hospital bed. The ceiling is made up of square tiles with hundreds of tiny holes in them. The man sitting on my right in a chair. A tall man, a slender man, a slim man. Slim? How you doing, kid? Water, I say. Yeah, matey, he says. He takes a white plastic cup from a trolley beside my bed, puts the cup to my lips. I drink the whole cup. He pours me another, and I drink that one too, and lean back, weak and exhausted by the small effort. I look again at my missing finger, a right thumb, a bandaged knuckle, and 3 other fingers sticking from my hand like an uneven cactus. I'm sorry, kid, Slim says. It's gone. It's not gone, I say. Titus Brosh. Movement makes my hand throb in agony. Slim nods. I know, Eli, he says. Just lie back. Where am I? Royal Brisbane. Where's Mum? I ask. She's with the cops, Slim says. He drops his head. You won't be seeing her for a while, Eli. Why? I ask. And the tears inside me rush to my eyes the way the blood inside me is rushing to the nub of my forefinger. But there's no dam stopping the tears, and they pour out of me. What happened? Slim moves his chair closer to the bed. He stares at me silently. You know what happened, he says. And any minute now, a woman named Dr. Brennan will come in here and she'll want to know what happened too. And you need to decide what you want to tell her, because she will believe you. She does not believe what the ambulance officers told her, which is what your mother told them moments before the police arrived. What did she tell them? She told them you and August were horsing around with an axe. She told them you were holding one of your Star Wars figurines against a log, and you asked August to chop it in half, and he chopped Darth Vader in 2, along with your finger. An axe? I say. I was just dreaming about an axe. A cloud that looked like an axe. It felt so clear it could have been a memory. They're the only dreams worth having, the ones you remember, Slim says. What did August tell the cops? The same he says about anything, Slim says. Sweet fuck all. Why'd they take Lyle away, Slim? I ask. Slim sighs. Forget about that, mate. Why, Slim? Slim takes a deep breath. He was making his own side deals with Big Dang, he says. Side deals? He was operating behind the boss's back, kid, Slim says. He was building towards something. He had a whole plan. What plan? He was going to get out. He called it the nest egg. Slowly build your stash, sit on it for a year or two, let time and the market double its value. Somehow Titus got wind of it and reacted as expected. He's now severed ties with Big Dang. He'll use Dustin Vang now as his supplier, and when Big Dang finds out about Lyle, it's going to be World War III in the streets of Dara. Nest egg? World War III? Find out about Lyle? Fuck. Fuck! I say. Don't fucking swear. I weep, drag the right sleeve of my hospital gown across my eyes. What is it, Eli? It's my fault, I say. What? It was my idea, Slim. I told him about the market. I told him about supply and demand. What we talked about, Task Force Janus and that. Slim pulls his white ox from a top shirt pocket, rolls a cigarette that he'll keep in his packet and light as soon as he exits the hospital. This is how I know Slim is anxious, by his rolling a cigarette he cannot light. When did you tell him that? Slim asks. A few months ago, I say. Well, he's been doing it for 6 months, kid, so it sure as shit ain't your fault. But that's impossible. He lied to me. Lyle lied to me. The man who said he couldn't lie. He lied to me. There's a big difference between lying to a kid and not telling him something for his own good, Slim says. What did they do with him, Slim? He shakes his head. I don't know, mate, he says, tender. I don't want to know. And maybe you shouldn't either. There's no difference between lying and not telling, Slim, I say. They're both weak as piss. Careful, warns Slim. Maybe it's the pain in the knuckle where my finger once was that's putting this rage in me. Or maybe it's the memory of Mum knocked out in Lena and Aurelie Orlick's hallway. They're monsters, Slim. They're fucking psychopaths running the suburbs. I'm going to tell them everything. I'm going to tell them every bit of it. Ivan Kroll and all the bodies he's cut up. How saintly Titus Brosh and back off Big Dang and fucking Dustin Vang supply half the heroin across Brisbane's west. They came into our house while we were eating spaghetti and they took Lyle away. They just took him away from us, Slim. I sit up on my right elbow to get closer to Slim, and a sharp pain localizes around my knuckles. You gotta tell me, Slim, I say. Where were they taking him? Slim shakes his head. I don't know, kid. But you can't be thinking about that now. You need to be thinking very carefully about what reasons your mother had for making up that story. She's protecting you boys, mate. She'll swallow that shit for you two, and you'll swallow that shit for her. My left hand on my forehead. I rub my eyes, wipe tears from my eyes. I'm dizzy, confused. I want to get out. I want to play Missile Command on Atari. I want to stare for 10 minutes at Jane Seymour in Mum's Women's Weekly. I want to pick my fucking nose with my lucky fucking forefinger. Where's August? I ask. The cops took him to your father's house. What? He's your guardian now, mate. Slim says. He'll look after you boys now. I'm not going to his house. It's the only place you can go, kid. I could stay with you. Can't stay with me, kid. Why not? This is Slim losing patience. It's not loud what he says, but it's pointed. Because you're not my fucking kid, mate. Unplanned, unwished, unwilled, untested, underdeveloped, undernourished, undone, unwanted, unloved, undead. Shoulda, coulda, woulda never been here in the first place if that creep hadn't dragged Mum into his car way back in the way back when. If she hadn't run away from home. If her old man hadn't run away from her. I see my mum's dad in my head, and he looks like Titus Brosh. I see the creep who tried to drag Mum into his car, and he looks like Titus Brosh with 30 years shaved off that zombie face, a switchblade knife for a tongue. I see my father, and I can't remember what his face looks like, so he looks like Titus Brosh too. Slim drops his head, breathes. I lay my head down in tears on the pillow, staring up at the square tiles. I'm counting the holes in the ceiling tiles, starting from the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look, Eli, you're in the hole, he says. You know what I mean? This is a low, but it only goes up, mate. This is your Black Peter. It only goes up, mate. I keep staring at the ceiling. I have a question. Are you a good man, Slim? Slim is puzzled by this. Why asking that for? Tears spill from my eyes, run down across my temples. Are you a good man, Slim? Yeah, Slim says. I turn my head towards him. He's looking out my room window, blue sky and cloud. I'm a good man, Slim says, but I'm a bad man too. And that's like all men, kid. We all got a bit of good and a bit of bad in us. The tricky part is learning how to be good all the time and bad none of the time. Some of us get that right. Most of us don't. Is Lyle a good man? Yeah, Eli, he says. He's a good man. Some of the time. Slim? Yeah, kid. Do you think I'm good? Slim nods. Yeah, kid. You're all right. But am I good? I ask. Do you think I'm going to be a good man when I grow up? Slim shrugs. Well, you're a good boy, he says. But I guess being a good boy doesn't guarantee being a good man. I think I need to be tested, I say. What do you mean? I need to be tested. A test of character. I don't know what's inside me, Slim. Slim stands up and looks at the writing on my drip bag. I think they souped you up on some wacky juice, mate, Slim says, sitting back down again. I do feel good, I say. I feel like I'm still in a dream. That's the painkillers, mate, Slim says. Why do you need to be tested? Why don't you just know that you're a good kid? You got a good heart? I don't know that, I say. I'm not certain of that. I've thought some horrible things. I've had some very evil thoughts that couldn't be the thoughts of someone good. Thinking evil thoughts and doing evil deeds are two very different things, Slim says. Sometimes I imagine two aliens coming to planet Earth, and they have faces like piranhas, and they drag me away in their spaceship, and we're flying through space as Earth comes into view in the spaceship's rearview mirror, and one of the aliens turns to me from their driver's seat and says, "It's time, Eli." And I take one last look at Earth and I say, do it. And the other alien presses a red button, and in the rear-view mirror, the Earth doesn't explode like it was the Death Star blowing up. It just silently vanishes from space. It's there, then not there. Like it was just deleted from the universe, more than destroyed. Slim nods. Sometimes, Slim, I wonder if you're not an actor, and Mum is too, and Lyle as well, and Gus. Oh man, Gus. He's like the best actor who ever lived, and you guys are all just acting around me, and I'm being watched by those aliens in some grand production of my life. That's not evil, Slim says. That's just batshit crazy. And a little self-centered. I need a test, I say. Some moment where my true character can reveal itself naturally. I could do something noble, without a second's thought. I just do it because doing good things is in me, and I'll know for certain then that I am truly good inside. We'll get that test eventually, kid, Slim says, looking out the window. You can do something good every single day, kid. And you know what today's good deed is going to be? What? Backing up your mum's version of events, Slim says. And what were they again? August chopped your finger off with an axe, he says. Gus is good, I say. I don't remember a single time when he did something bad against someone who didn't deserve it. Them rules of good and bad don't apply to that boy, I'm afraid, he says. He's walking a different path, I reckon. Where to, you reckon? Dunno, Slim says. Some place only Gus knows how to get to. He talked, Slim, I say. Who talked? Gus, I say. Just before I blacked out. He talked. What did he say? He said... A woman pulls the olive green curtain along the U-shaped rod. She wears a blue woolen jumper with an image of a kookaburra resting on a branch beside a gum leaf. She wears dark green slacks, the colour of the gum leaf on the jumper. Her hair is red and she's pale, late 50s maybe. She's looking at my eyes the second she pulls back the curtain. She carries a clipboard. She swings the curtain back for privacy. How is my brave young soldier? She asks. She has an Irish accent. I've never in person heard a woman speak with an Irish accent. He's doing good, Slim says. Well, let's have a look at that dressing, she says. I love her Irish accent. I want to go to Ireland right now with this woman and lie in rich green grass by a cliff's edge and eat boiled potatoes with salt and butter and pepper and speak with an Irish accent about how anything is possible for 13-year-old boys with Irish accents. My name is Caroline Brennan, she says, and you must be brave Eli, the young man who lost his special finger. How did you know it was special? Well, the right forefinger is always special, she says. It's the one you use to point at the stars. It's the one you use to point out the girl in your class photo who you secretly love. It's the one you use to read a really long word in your favourite book. It's the one you use to pick your nose and scratch your arse, right? Dr. Brennan says the surgeons upstairs couldn't do much about my missing finger. She says modern reattachment surgeries in teenagers are roughly 70 to 80% successful, but these complex reattachments rely heavily on one key element, a fucking finger to stick back on. After 12 or so hours without replantation of the amputated finger, that 70 to 80% success rate bottoms out to, sorry, you poor rotten son of a smack dealer. Sometimes, she says, finger replantations often cause more problems than they're worth. especially when the lone severed finger is an index or pinky finger. But this just sounds to me like saying to a starving man floating out at sea on a plank of wood, "Look, it's probably a good thing you don't have a leg of ham with you because it probably would make you constipated." Amputations like mine, she says, at the base of the finger, are more complex still, and even if my teenage runaway finger suddenly emerged on a bucket of ice, it is unlikely nerve function would recover enough to make the finger anything more useful than something I could shove into a bed of hot coals as a neat party trick. "Now, hold out your tall man," she says, twiddling her middle finger. I hold up my tall man. "Now, shove him up your nostril," she says. She sticks her own middle finger in her nostril, raising her eyebrows. Slim beams. I follow suit, shove that tall man up my nose. "See?" Dr. Brennan says. "There ain't nothing that forefinger could do that tall man can't. You hear me, young Eli? That tall man can just go deeper." I nod, smiling. She carefully unwraps the dressing around my fingerless knuckle, and the air on the exposed flesh makes me wince. I sneak a look at it and turn immediately away with the image of a bald white knuckle bone exposed in flesh, like one of my back teeth lodged inside a pork sausage. "It's healing well," she says. "How long will he be in for, Doc?" Slim asks. "I'd like to keep him in here for 2 or 3 more days at least," she says. "Just monitor him for infection in the early stages." She gives the wound a new dressing. She turns to Slim. "Can I speak to Eli alone, please?" she says. Slim nods. He stands, his old bones cracking as he rises. He coughs twice, a chesty, nasty, wheezy cough, like he's got a hissing rhinoceros beetle lodged in his larynx. "You had that cough seen to?" Dr. Brennan asks. "Nah," Slim says. "Why not?" she replies. "Because one of you bright quacks might do something silly like stop me from dying," he says. He gives me a wink as he passes Dr. Brennan. "Has Eli got a place to go?" Dr. Brennan asks. "He's going to his dad's house," Slim says. Dr. Brennan shoots a look at me. "Is that okay with you?" she asks. Slim watches for my response. I nod, and he nods too. He hands me a $20 note. "When you're done here, you get yourself a cab back to your old man's, all right?" he says. He points to a cupboard beneath my hospital bed. "I brought your shoes and a fresh set of clothes for you." Slim hands me a slip of paper and walks for the door. An address and a phone number on the paper. "Your old man's address," he says. "I'm not far from you boys, just past the Hornybrook Bridge. You call this number if you need me. It's the number of a hock shop beneath the flat. Ask for Jill." "Then what do I say?" I ask. "Say you're best friends with Slim Halliday." Then he's gone. Dr. Brennan reads a chart on a clipboard. She sits on the side of the bed. "Give me your arm," she says. Around my left bicep, she wraps a velvet cuff attached to a black pump shaped like a grenade. "What's that?" "Checks your blood pressure," she says. "Just relax now." She squeezes the grenade several times. "So, you like Star Wars?" I nod. "So do I," she says. "Who's your favourite character?" "Han. Boba Fett, maybe." A long pause. "No, Han." Dr. Brennan gives me a sharp eye. "You sure about that?" Pause. "Luke," I say. "It's always been Luke. Who's yours?" "Oh, Darth Vader, all the way for me," she says. I see where she's going with this. Dr. Brennan should join the fuzz. I'll bite. "You like Vader?" Oh, yeah. I always enjoy the bad guys, she says. You don't have much of a story if you don't have some bad guys. Can't have a good hero without a bad villain, right? I smile. Who doesn't want to be Darth Vader? She laughs. Someone pushes in front of you when you're lining up for a hot dog and you give him the old silent force choke. She makes a pincer grip with her thumb and forefinger. I laugh, making the same grip in mid-air. I find your lack of mustard disturbing, I say, and we laugh together. Out of the corner of my eye, I catch sight of a boy standing in the doorway of my hospital room. He wears a light blue hospital gown like me. He has a shaved head, but for a long brown rat's tail stretching from the back of his scalp and draping over his right shoulder. His left hand grips a mobile IV stand, holding the drip bag that's plugged into his hand. "What is it, Christopher?" asks Dr. Brennan. Maybe he's 11 years old. He's got a scar across his top lip that makes him look like the last 11-year-old boy with a mobile drip I'd ever want to come across in a dark alley. He scratches his ass. "Tang's too weak again," he spits. Dr. Brennan sighs. "Christopher, there's twice as much powder in it than last time," she says. He shakes his head and walks away. "I'm fucking dying and you're giving me weak Tang," he says on his way up the corridor outside. Dr. Brennan raises her eyebrows. "Sorry about that," she says. "What's he dying from?" I ask. "Poor bugger's got a tumour the size of Ayers Rock in his brain," she says. "Can you do anything about it?" "Maybe," she says, writing my blood pressure numbers onto a sheet on the clipboard. "Maybe not. Sometimes medicine's got nothing to do with it." "What do you mean? God?" "Oh, no, not God. I'm talking about Gog." "Who's Gog?" "He's God's cranky, more impatient younger brother," she says. "While God's off building the Himalayas, miserable old Gog is off putting tumours in the heads of young Brisbane lads." "Gog's got a lot to answer for," I suggest. "Gog walks among us," she says. "Anyway, where were we?" "Vader." "Oh, yeah. So you don't like Darth Vader, do you?" she says. "You and your brother wanted to chop him in half with an axe, I understand." "We were pissed he killed Obi-Wan." She stares into my eyes, rests her folder on the bed. "You ever heard the saying, Eli, can't bullshit a bullshitter?" "Slim loves that one," I say. "I bet he does." "I see some shit in this place," she says, her Irish accent making that sentence sound like she's talking about a fine dawn sunrise. "I've seen green shit and yellow shit and black shit and purple shit with polka dots and shit so thick you could plop it over your mother-in-law's head and fairly knock her out. I've seen shit come out of holes you didn't know existed. I've seen shit tear the assholes out of women and men, but rarely have I seen shit so dangerous as the bullshit pouring out of your mouth right now." She speaks with love and compassion in all that shit speak, and it makes me laugh. "I'm sorry," I say. "There are things you can do," she says. "There are places you can go to be safe, people you can trust. There are still people in this city more powerful than the police. There's still a few Luke Skywalkers left in Brisbane, Eli." "Heroes?" I ask. "Can't have all those villains walking around without a few heroes too," she says. Dear Alex, greetings from the children's ward of Royal Brisbane Hospital. Firstly, please forgive my messy handwriting. I recently lost my right forefinger. Really long story. but I can grip a big ballpoint pen just fine between my tall finger, my thumb, and my right ring finger. My doctor, Dr. Brennan, wants me to start using my hands, and she said writing a letter might be a good way to start practicing my writing, as well as getting the blood circulating in my hands. How are you and the boys and Tripod the cat? Sorry I can't give you any updates on Days of Our Lives. They only have one TV in the children's ward, and it's always on Play School. You ever been in hospital? It's not bad here. Dr. Brennan is real nice and speaks with an Irish accent that I think the boys in 2 Division would love. Dinner's a bit rough with the roast lamb, but breakfast, cornflakes, and lunch, chicken sandwiches, are spot on. I could stay a bit longer here, but I can't because I've got work to do. See, I've been thinking about heroes, Alex. You ever have a hero? Someone who saved you? Someone who kept you safe? What makes someone a hero? Luke Skywalker didn't set out to be a hero. He just wanted to find Obi-Wan. Then he just decided to step outside his comfort zone. He just decided to follow his heart. So maybe that's all it takes to be a hero, Alex. Just follow your heart. Step outside. You might not be able to get hold of me for a while because I'm going to be away for a bit. I'm off on a quest, going on a bit of an adventure. I have established my goal, and I have the will to achieve it. Remember what Slim always says about the 4 things: timing, planning, luck, belief. I reckon that's like life. I reckon that's like living. I'll write to you when I can, but if you don't hear from me for a bit, I want to say thanks for all the letters, and thanks for being my friend. So much more to say, but I'll have to leave all that to another day, because my moment is almost here, and my time is slipping away. Like sands through the hourglass. Your friend always, Eli. Slim always had this self-belief thing about escaping prison. It went something along the lines of, if you truly believe the guards can see you, then the guards can truly see you. But if you truly believe you're invisible, then the guards will believe you're truly invisible. I think that's what he was saying. It was something about confidence. The Houdini of Boggo Road wasn't as magical as he was sneaky and confident, and a confident sneak can make his own magic. His first successful escape from Boggo Road was in broad daylight, a blistering Sunday afternoon, the 28th of January, 1940. Slim and his fellow D-Wing prisoners were being walked around the central circle towards number 4 yard. Slim fell back among the group, and he believed he was invisible. So he was. 4 factors to a clean escape: timing, planning, luck, belief. Timing was right, between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. on a Sunday, when the majority of the prison guards were off guarding the majority of prisoners at prayer service in number 4 yard, on the opposite side of the compound to Slim's D-Wing. Simple plan, effective plan, confident plan. On the way to number 4 yard, Slim simply went invisible, slipped like a ghost from the single line of prisoners and ducked into number 1 yard, adjacent to D-Wing, nearest yard to his ultimate destination, the prison workshops. Then he believed he could scale a 3-metre wooden fence, and so he did. He climbed the fence bordering number 1 exercise yard and leaped down to a track below, a sterile zone that ran along the inside of the prison walls to form a square shape. He crossed the track into the workshops area, and that was usually patrolled by guards, but wasn't during Sunday prayer service. Sweating, hot, quiet, stealthy, he ran to the back of the workshops and, invisible to the guards, climbed onto an outhouse that allowed him to climb further and up to the roof of the workshops. Here, potentially visible to the guards in the prison watchtowers, he produced a pair of stolen and smuggled pliers and rapidly cut through the wire netting covering the workshop ventilation windows. Timing, planning, luck, belief, and a slim build. The Houdini of Boggo Road squeezed his thin frame through the ventilation windows and dropped down into the bootmaking section of the workshops. Each workshop section was separated by wire meshing. Slim cut and slipped his way through the wire from the boot shop to the mattress shop, from the mattress shop to the carpenter's shop, from the carpenter's shop to the loom shop, from the loom shop to paradise. The brass shop in which he had been working in recent weeks and in which he had hidden his escape kit. Timing is right for my escape. It's 3 p.m. in the children's ward play area, a polished wood floor communal space shaped like half an octagon. The area is bordered by white wood-framed latch windows, like the windows in my school. Same time in the afternoon Slim made his escape. A time in the ward when most of these kids, about 18 kids, aged 4 to 14, battling everything from appendicitis to broken arms to concussions to knife wounds to fingers chopped off by artificial limb specialists, are on a tang and green cordial high from afternoon tea, their tongues still buzzing with the sweet elixir of the cream inside a Monte Carlo biscuit. Kids pushing trucks and finger-painting butterflies and pulling their underpants down and playing with their dicks. Older kids reading books and 5 kids watching Romper Room and hoping gentle Miss Helena inside the television will see them through her magic mirror. A red-haired boy spinning a top made into the shape of a yellow and black Tim Bumblebee. A girl, maybe my age, gives me a half smile, the way factory workers might smile at each other across conveyor belts of bumblebee spinning tops. Prints of exotic animals across the walls, and Christopher with the mobile drip, the boy with Ayers Rock inside his melon. "You watching this?" I ask Christopher. He's sitting in an armchair in front of the communal television, licking the cream off a split orange cream biscuit. "No," he says, indignant. "I don't watch Romper Room." I asked them to put it on different strokes, but they reckon there's more young kids than old kids, so we have to watch this shit. Fucking bullshit if you ask me. These little pricks can spend the rest of their lives watching Romper Room. I'm going to be a corpse in 3 months and all I want to do is watch some different strokes. Nobody gives a shit. His tongue licks a slab of orange cream. His light blue hospital gown is as misshapen and crinkled as mine. "My name is Eli," I say. "Christopher," he says. "Sorry to hear about your brain," I say. "I'm not sorry," he says. "I don't have to go to school no more. And Mum's been buying me Golden Gate Times whenever I feel like one. I just say the word and she stops the car and she runs into a shop and gets me one." He spots my bandaged right hand. "What happened to your finger?" I move closer. "A drug kingpin's hitman chopped it off with a Bowie knife," I say. "Fuck," says Christopher. "Why'd he do that?" "Because my brother wouldn't tell the drug kingpin what he wanted to know." "What did he want to know?" "I don't know." "Why didn't your brother tell him?" "Because he doesn't talk." "Why were they asking someone who doesn't talk to talk?" "Because he did end up talking." "What did he say?" "Your end is a dead blue wren." "What?" asks Christopher. "Forget about it," I say, leaning in close to his chair, whispering, "Listen, see that builder over there?" Christopher follows my gaze to the other side of the ward floor, where a builder is adding an extra section of storage cupboards beside the administration desk in the centre of the ward. Christopher nods. He's got a toolbox at his feet, and inside that toolbox is a box of Benson and Hedges Extra Mild and a purple cigarette lighter. I say. "So?" Christopher says. "So? I need you to go over there and ask him a question while he's facing away from the toolbox," I say. "You'll create a diversion while I sneak in from behind and steal his cigarette lighter from his toolbox. Christopher looks puzzled. What's a diversion? It's what Slim created in December 1953, after being sentenced to life. In the mattress workshop in No. 2 Division, he built up a mountain of mattress fibre and tree cotton and set it alight. The burning mountain of mattress was a diversion for arriving guards who didn't know whether to attend to the fire or to Boggo Road's most notorious prisoner, who was already climbing a makeshift ladder towards the workshop's skylight. Slim's diversion, however, was his undoing, because the fire's flames rose to the roof where he was bashing out the skylight mesh before severe smoke inhalation saw him plummet 5 metres to the ground. But the lesson remains. Fire makes people panicky as fuck. It's a distraction, I say. See my fist? I wave my right fist high and in circles, and Christopher's green eyes follow the fist so dutifully he doesn't see my left hand reach to his ear and tug his earlobe. Yoink, I say. He smiles, nodding. So what do you need the lighter for? Christopher asks. To set fire to that copy of Anne of Green Gables sitting over there by the bookcase. A diversion. You learn fast, I say. That brain of yours still works fine. A big enough diversion that will make those nurses at the administration desk come over here as I make my triumphant escape out through that entry door they're always eyeing off. Where you going to go? Places, Christopher, I say, nodding. I'm going places. Christopher nods. You want to come with me? I ask. Christopher considers the offer for a moment. Nah, he says. These retards still think they can save me, so I better stick around here for a bit longer. He stands, pulls the drip needle out of the top of his hand that's connecting him to his metal drip trolley. What are you doing? I ask. He's already walking towards the television when he turns his head briefly. Diversion, he says. The television is a standard size, and if it was tipped on its side, it would reach up to Christopher's waist. He leans over it and grips the rear side of the television with his left hand and places his right hand at the base and, in one mighty and clean jerk, his wire-thin arms haul the television above his shoulders. The kids lying down on a rainbow-coloured mat on their bellies watching Romper Room stare in confusion and disbelief as Miss Helena inside the television is tilted on a sharp diagonal as Christopher raises the television in teeth-gritting fury. I said I wanted to watch Diff'rent Strokes! He screams. I step slowly backwards towards the administration desk as 4 nurses rush from there to surround Christopher in a panicked semicircle. One younger nurse pulls the youngest children away from Christopher as a senior nurse approaches him the way a police negotiator might approach a man in a dynamite vest. Christopher, put the television down. Now. I'm already at the entry door when Christopher staggers backwards with the television above his head. The television's power cord pulled tight and about to be reefed from the power point. He's singing something. Christopher! The senior nurse screams. He's singing the theme song to Diff'rent Strokes. It's a song about understanding and inclusion and difference, about how some are born with less than others and more than others at the same time. It's a song about connection. He steps back 3, 4, 5 steps, like Frankenstein's monster steps, and he turns his hip for a stronger thrust, and he throws the television and gentle Miss Helena smiling inside it straight through the glass of his nearest latched white wood-framed window to an unknown destination. The nurses gasp, and Christopher turns back with his arms raised, not in a D for diversion, but in a V for victory. He screams in triumph, and as the nurses crash-tackle him as a group, his gaze somehow finds me at the entry door in all the diversionary madness. He gives a sharp wink with his left eye, and the best I can give back is a full-blooded fist pump before I slip through the door to freedom. Timing, planning, luck, belief. Planning. After Slim had laboriously cut through the wire meshing of the boot shop, and then the mattress shop, and the carpenter shop, and the loom shop on that daring escape of the 28th of January 1940, he slipped finally through the wire mesh of the brush shop to find his escape kit. Slim had patience, even in those early days, before his longest stretches in Black Peter. He took his time fixing his escape kit between the watchful patrols of workshop guards, because time was all he had plenty of. He relished the planning. He found succor in the sneaky, adrenaline-filled creativity of a quest for liberty. The secret making and storing of escape tools brought him joy and focus in an otherwise dreary prison world. Between the watchful stares of workshop guards, Slim had spent months fashioning an escape rope 9 metres in length, made of plaited core, the stuff they made the mats with in the prison carpet weaving shop, the stuff they made the mat with that Slim laid upon in the cold, damp and dark Black Peter. Every half a metre or so along this rope, he double-knotted it to form footholds. Inside his escape kit was a second rope, 3 metres in length, and 2 wooden hammock sticks bound together to form a cross that he tied to the 9-metre rope. With his escape kit in hand, he climbed to the ceiling of the brush shop and cut his way through the mesh of a fanlight ceiling window and found himself, once more, standing atop the workshop rooftop, this time in a position invisible to tower guards. The prison's Achilles heel, a perfect blind spot that Slim had deduced through patient, hour after hour after hour of walking the prison yard with his head held skyward, sketching rough geometry drawings in his mind between variables of the guard towers, the workshop roof, and freedom. He used his shorter rope to slip down off the workshop roof, suffering rope burns to his hands on his way down. Now, back on the inner track running around the prison perimeter, he looked up at the daunting rise of Boggo Road's 8-metre brick penitentiary wall. He pulled out his bound hammock cross sticks from his escape kit. What he held in his hands was a grappling hook tied to a 9-metre rope with footholds, and he steadied himself for a throw. Timing, planning, luck, belief. 4 weeks in his solitary prison cell, Slim had studied the science and technique required to lodge a grappling hook against a high wall. Along the top of the Boggo Road prison wall were corners where smaller sections of the wall met higher sections. Slim spent weeks throwing 2 bound matchsticks fixed into a cross and attached to string over a rough scale model of Boggo Road penitentiary wall. He threw the hook over the wall and he worked the weighted rope along the wall top until it wedged into the corner of a small step where a smaller section of the wall met a higher section. And he told me how it felt when he pulled that rope taut onto that corner and the hook stuck firm. Slim said it felt like one Christmas morning he had in the old Church of England orphanage in Carlingford, when the housemaster told all those spindly orphans they were having warm plum pudding and custard for dessert at Christmas lunch. And that's what liberty tastes like, Slim said. Warm plum pudding and custard. He hauled himself up that rope, his hands and feet gripping for life on the double-knotted footholds, until he sat perched high up on the prison wall, unseen in his beautiful blind spot. One side of his view from the top way up there to the blooming garden set beyond the walls of number 1 yard, the other side of his view, the rambling brick prison that was really the only permanent home, the one and only fixed address he had ever had in his life. He breathed that air up there deep inside him, and he reversed the hook so it lodged this time into the prison side of the wall corner that would become known as Halliday's Leap, and he climbed on down to freedom. 4 floors to freedom for me. I press the button for ground in the hospital elevator. The first thing Slim did after he scrambled his way through the gardens to surrounding Annalee Road as a fugitive was to slip out of his prison clothes. Around 4:10 p.m, about when the prison wardens were calling his name at the afternoon prison muster, Slim was jumping fences through suburban Brisbane, stealing a new outfit from a series of clotheslines. Now I'm Houdini, and here's my great blink and you'll miss it illusion. Slipping off my hospital gown to reveal the civilian, non-fugitive clothes I have on underneath. An old dark blue polo shirt and black jeans over my blue and grey Dunlop KT26 running shoes. I roll the gown up into a ball of blue material I'm holding in my left hand just as the elevator stops at level 2 of the hospital. 2 male doctors holding clipboards step into the elevator, deep in conversation. I said to the kid's dad, maybe if he's having this many concussions on the field, you should consider a more low-impact sport, like tennis or golf, says one doctor as I move to the back left corner of the elevator, the ball of my gown hidden behind my back. What did he say to that? The other doctor asks. He said he couldn't take him out of the team because the finals were coming up. The first doctor says. I said, well, Mr. Newcombe, I think it comes down to what's more important to you, an under-15s premiership trophy for brothers, or your son having enough brain function to say the word premiership. The doctors shake their heads. The first doctor turns to me. I smile. You lost, buddy? He asks. I've planned for this. Rehearsed a number of responses over the lamb roast dinner I didn't eat last night. No, just visiting my brother in the children's ward, I say. The elevator stops on the ground floor. Your mum and dad with you? The doctor asks. Yeah, they're just having a smoke outside, I say. The elevator doors open and the doctors exit right, and I exit towards the hospital foyer, polished concrete floors buzzing with hospital visitors and ambulance officers pushing gurneys. The first doctor spots the bandage on my right hand and stops on the spot. Hey, wait, kid! Just keep walking. Just keep walking. Confidence. You are invisible. Believe you are invisible, and you are invisible. Just keep walking. Past the water cooler. Past a family surrounding a girl with Coke bottle glasses in a wheelchair. Past a poster of Norm, the beer-bellied dad at the centre of the Life Be In It TV ads that make August laugh so hard. I glance a look back over my right shoulder to see the first doctor walk to the administration desk and start talking to a woman at the desk as he points at me. Walking faster now. Faster now. Faster. You're not invisible, you idiot. You are not magic. You are a 13-year-old boy about to be captured by that large Pacific Islander security guard the doctor is now talking to, and you are about to be sent to live with father you do not know. Run! The Royal Brisbane Hospital is on Bowen Bridge Road. I know this area because the Brisbane exhibition, the Ekka, is held every August a little up the road in the old showgrounds, where Mum and Lyle let August and me eat all the contents of our Milky Way show bags one afternoon while we watched 5 large men from Tasmania furiously chop logs between their feet with axes to rousing applause. We caught the train back home to Dara from Bowen Hills train station, somewhere around here. And on the moving train, I vomited the contents of my Milky Way bag into an army combat show bag that consisted of a plastic machine gun, a plastic hand grenade, a sling of ammunition, and a jungle camouflaged headband that I'd hoped to wear on several top-secret rescue missions through the streets of Dara until the headband was drowned in vomit that was 2 parts chocolate thickshake and 1 part Dagwood dog. A daylight moon outside the hospital. Cars zipping along Bowen Bridge Road. There's a large grey electrical box on the footpath running by the hospital. I slip behind this box and watch the Pacific Islander security guard rush out of the sliding entry doors of the hospital. He looks left, right, Left again, searching for leads, finding none. He approaches a woman in a green cardigan and fluffy slippers, having a smoke by a bus stop seat and a council bin with an ashtray. Run now! Catch up to the crowd of people crossing the busy main road at the traffic lights. Walk into the centre of this crowd. Boy on the lam. Boy outfoxes hospital staff. Boy outsmarts world. Boy suckers universe. I know this street. This is where we entered the Brisbane exhibition. Lyle and Mum bought the tickets from a guy in a concrete hole in the wall. We walked through horse stables and cow shit and 100 goats and a barn full of chickens and chicken shit. Then we walked down a hill and we came to Sideshow Alley, and August and I begged Lyle to take us on the ghost train, and then to the maze of mirrors where I turned and turned and turned through doors but only ever found myself. Keep walking up this street. Find someone, anyone. Like this man. Excuse me, I say. He's wearing a large army green coat and a beanie, and he's nursing a large glass bottle of Coke between his crossed legs as he leans against the concrete wall bordering the showgrounds. The Coke bottle is the kind August and I collect and return sometimes to the corner store in Oxley, and the old lady who runs the store gives us 20 cents for our efforts, and we spend that 20 cents on 21-cent caramel buds. There's a clear liquid in the man's Coke bottle, and I can smell that it's methylated spirits. He looks up at me, his lips twitching, eyes adjusting to the sun over my shoulder. Could you point me to the train station? I ask. Batman, the man says, his head wobbling. Sorry? Batman, he barks. Batman? He sings the television theme tune. Na 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 na. Batman! He hollers. He's tanned from the sun and he's sweating in the large green coat. Yeah, Batman, I say. He points to his neck. The side of his neck is covered in blood. Fucking bat bit me, he says. His head wobbles from one side to the other, like the pirate ship swings we ride on every autumn at the Brisbane exhibition. I see now that his left eye is heavily bruised, blood-clotted. Are you okay? I ask. Do you need some help? I don't need help, he gargles. I'm Batman. Adult men. Fucking adult men. Nutters, all of them. Can't be trusted. Fucking sickos. Freaks. Killers. What was this man's road to becoming Batman on a side street of inner-city Brisbane? How much good was in him? How much bad? Who was his father? What did his father do? What did his father not do? In what ways did other adult men fuck his life up? Which way to the train station? I ask. What's that? He says. The train station, I say louder. He points the way, an unsteady right arm and a limp forefinger pointing to an intersection left of here. Just keep walking, Robin, he says. Just keep walking. Thanks, Batman, I say. He holds out his hand. Shake me hand, he demands. I instinctively go to shake his hand with my right, but remembered the dressing over my missing finger and tentatively offer my left hand instead. Good, good, he says, giving a firm handshake. Thanks again, I say. Then he pulls my hand to his mouth and bites it like a rabid dog. He spits, his mouth slobbering over my hand. He's biting my hand, but it's all skin in his mouth, jelly gums. I reef my hand away and he falls back laughing, his mouth open wide and deranged, not a single tooth in his smile. Run. Sprinting now like I'm Eric Groth, powerhouse winger for the mighty Parramatta Eels, and there's a sideline beside me and a try line 80 metres in front of me. Sprint like my life depended on it. Sprint like there's jet boots on my feet and fire in my heart that never goes out. Across the intersection, my Dunlop KT26s will guide my way. Just trust in the sleek, cushioned design of the KT26, cheapest, most effective runner in all of Kmart. Sprint like I'm the last warm-blooded boy on Earth and the world is overrun by vampires. Vampire bats. Run! Past a car dealership to my right and a hedgerow to my left. Run! Past an orange brick building to my left that takes up a whole block of land. A name fixed in fancy letters to the building. The Courier Mail. Stop. This is where they make it. This is where they build the newspaper. Slim told me about this place. All the writers come here, and they type their stories out, and typesetters put their stories on metal down in the printing presses at the back of the building. Slim said he spoke to a journalist once who told him he could smell his stories being pressed in ink in the evening. There was no greater smell, the journo told Slim, than tomorrow's front page scoop being pressed in ink. I breathe deep and smell it, and I swear I can smell that ink because maybe they're all on deadline and the presses are already running, and I'm going to be part of that place somehow, someday. I just know it. Because why else did Batman with no teeth send me down here? Down this very street where the Courier Mail crime writers return to file their pieces and change the state and change the world. Batman was just a bit player maybe, but he acted well in the grand production of The Extraordinary and Unexpected Yet Totally Expected Life of Eli Bell. Of course he sent me down here. Of course he did. A police car passes through the intersection, moving across the road I'm standing on. 2 officers. The officer in the passenger seat looks my way. Don't engage. Don't engage. But it's 2 cops in a police car, and I can't resist engaging. The police officer is eyeballing me now. The police car slows, then continues across the intersection. Run! Slim had been on the run for almost 2 weeks before he was first reported by a civilian on the 9th of February 1940. A statewide manhunt stretched to the New South Wales border and police cars lined roads leading south where most expected Slim to go. But Slim was heading north when he pulled into a service station in Nunda in Brisbane's suburban north at 3 a.m. to fill up a car he'd stolen from nearby Clayfield. The service station owner, a man named Walter Wildman, was woken up by the sound of petrol being pumped from a garage Bowser. He promptly and justifiably sprang upon Slim with a loaded double-barrel shotgun. "Stand still!" barked Wildman. "You wouldn't shoot a man, would you?" Slim reasoned. "Yes," replied Wildman. "I'll blow your brains out." This admission naturally prompted Slim to run for the driver's seat of his stolen car, which in turn prompted Walter Wildman to fire twice at Slim, attempting to blow his brains out, but succeeding only in shattering the car's rear window. Slim sped off towards the Bruce Highway, heading north, as Walter Wildman phoned police to report the car's number plate. He got as far as Caboolture, about 30 minutes out of Brisbane, before a police vehicle jumped on his tail, sparking a thrilling car chase through bush side roads and around blind corners and into and out of gullies, which ended with Slim crashing the car through a wire fence. Running into scrub on foot, Slim was quickly surrounded by some 30 detectives from Queensland Police, who eventually found him hiding behind a wide tree stump. The police drove Slim back to Boggo Road and threw him back in his cell in No. 2 Division, and they slammed the cell door shut and Slim sat back down on his hard prison bed. And he smiled. "Why were you smiling?" I once asked Slim. "I established a goal and I achieved it," he said. "Finally, young Eli, this good-for-nothing orphan scumbag you're looking at had found something he was good at. I realised why the man upstairs made me so fucking tall and lanky. good for jumping over prison walls. This is the end of CD 5. The book continues on CD 6. CD 6. Train tracks. A train. Bowen Hills train station. The Ipswich line, platform 3. A train pulling in and a set of concrete stairs I sprint down. Maybe 50 concrete steps. I'm bounding down, 2 at a time. One eye on the steps, one eye on the train's open doors. Then a mistimed step and my right ankle in my right Dunlop KT26 rolls on the edge of the very last step and I dive face first onto that rough bitumen of platform 3. My right shoulder cushions most of the impact, but my right cheek and ear scrape along the surface like the back tyre of my BMX when I slam the brakes on for a long skid. But those train doors are still open, so I lift myself up from the ground and stagger winded and groggy towards them as they start closing, and I leap for my life and land inside, where 3 elderly women sharing a 4-seat space turn to face me, gasping. "Are you all right there?" asks an old woman, holding her handbag with both hands on her lap. I nod, sucking breath, turning to walk down the train corridor. Small bitumen gravel pebbles are lodged in my face. Air stings the open graze on my cheek. The knuckle that once controlled my missing finger screams for attention. I sit and breathe, and I pray this train stops at Darra. Deserted suburbs at dusk. Maybe the world did end. Maybe it is just me, and the vampires are sleeping because it's still daylight. Maybe I'm losing my mind, and I shouldn't be walking like this in the sun, with the hospital painkillers wearing off. But this dream is growing real because I can smell my underarms, and I can taste the sweat above my top lip. I walk past the Darra Station Road shops, past Mama Fam's restaurant, past an empty Burger Rings packet blowing in circles in the wind, past the fruit and vegetable market, past the hairdressers and the op shop and the TAB, across Ducey Street Park with the seeds of the paspalum grass catching on the bottom of my jeans and in the white laces of my Dunlops. Almost there. Almost home. Careful now. Sandarkan Street. I scan the street from afar, hiding behind a sprawling widowmaker swaying in the afternoon breeze. No cars in front of our house. No people in the street. I move cautiously and quickly between trees, zigzagging my way across the park towards our house. The sky is orange and deep pink above the house, and night is falling. Returning to the scene of the crime. I'm tired, but I'm nervous too. Not sure this quest was such a good idea. But I'm supposed to be going places. The only way is up out of a hole. Or further down, I guess. Straight down to hell. I scurry across the road, through the gate, like I'm meant to be here, because it's my house after all. Or Lyle's house, I should say. Lyle's house. Lyle. Can't go through the front. Go through the back. If the back door's locked, try Lena's window. If Lena's window is locked, try the sliding kitchen window on the old neighbour Jean Crimmins' side, and maybe Mum, or was it me, forgot to put that length of metal curtain rod in the window track to lock out intruders. Intruders like me. Intruders like me with big plans. Going places. Back door's locked. Lena's window doesn't budge. I bring the black wheelie bin around to the kitchen window, pull myself atop the bin and reef at the window. It slides 5 centimetres along the window track and I'm hopeful. Then it slams against the curtain rod and I'm not hopeful at all. Fuck it. Desperate times. Break a window. I jump off the bin. It's getting dark, but I can still see under the house. The dirt floor strewn with rocks, but none big enough for my needs. But this will do. A brick. Probably one of those glorious bricks from the factory up the road. A hometown brick. A Darra brick. I slip back out from under the house and sit the brick on top of the wheelie bin. I'm pulling myself back up on top of the bin when a voice echoes over my shoulder. "Everything all right, Eli?" asks Gene Crimmins, leaning out of his living room through an open casement window. The space between Gene's house and ours is only about 3 metres, so he can talk softly. He's a soft talker anyway, which I've always found calming. I like Gene. Gene knows how to be discreet. "G'day, Gene," I say, turning to him, letting go of the bin. Gene's wearing a white singlet and blue cotton pyjama bottoms. He registers my face. "Bloody hell, mate. What happened to you?" "Tripped over running down the train station stairs." Gene nods. "You locked out?" I nod. "Your mum around?" he asks. I shake my head. "Lyle?" I shake my head. He nods. "I saw those boys dragging him out to a car the other night," Gene says. "Figured they weren't all going for ice cream." I shake my head. "He all right?" "I don't know," I say. "But I'm hoping to find out. Just need to get inside." "That what the brick's for?" I nod. "I never saw you all right," he says. "Thanks for being discreet, Gene," I say. "You still got those wicket-keeper's hands you used to have in the backyard?" Gene asks. "Yeah, I guess so." "Catch," he says. He throws a key, and I catch it with 2 cupped hands. The key's attached to a kangaroo bottle opener keyring. "That's the spare key Lyle asked me to hold on to for a rainy day," Gene says. I nod in thanks. "It's raining a bit, Gene," I say. "Pissing down," Gene says. The house is dark and silent. I keep the lights off. Our dishes from the night we had spaghetti bolognese are stacked in a dish rack beside the sink. Someone's cleaned up. Slim, I guess. I cup a hand beneath the kitchen tap and take a long drink of water. I open the fridge and find a knob of wrapped Devon and a block of Coon cheese. I wonder how Slim ate on the lamb. Water from creeks, robbing eggs from chook pens maybe, stealing buns when bakers weren't looking, plucking oranges from trees. Staying fed and watered is a public activity. Raising one's head is often required to make it work. There's a loaf of tip-top bread on the kitchen bench, and I smell it in the darkness and know immediately it's green with mould. I take bites from the Devon and the cheese, mixing them together in my mouth. Not the same without bread, but filling the yawning hole in my stomach. I take the red torch from the 3rd drawer down below the kitchen sink, pad straight to Lena's room. This room of true love. This room of blood. Jesus on the wall. The light from my torch lands on his sorrowful face, and he looks so distant and aloof to me in the darkness. My right hand is throbbing. My forefinger knuckle is hot and full with blood going nowhere. I need rest. I need to stop moving. I need to lie down. I slide Lena's wardrobe door across, slide Lena's old dresses along the rod they hang on. I push with my left hand against the wardrobe's rear wall, and it compresses and pops back open. Lyle's secret door. It has to be here. Why would it be anywhere else? The light from my torch makes a small moon the size of a tennis ball bounce across the dirt ground of Lyle's secret room. I slip down, and my Dunlops dig into dirt. My torchlight finds every corner of the brick-walled room. Then it circles around the middle of the room, along the walls, across the red telephone. It has to be here. It has to be here. Why would he hide it anywhere else but his secret room built for hiding things in? But the room is empty. I hunch down and scramble for the secret door built into the wall of the secret room. I get a grip on the door flap and stick the torch into the tunnel Lyle has dug, stretching to the thunderbox beyond. The tunnel is clear of snakes and spiders, nothing but soil and thick air. Fuck. Heart pounding. Gotta do a piss. Don't want to do this. Gotta do this. I collapse onto my belly and push myself into the hole with my kneecaps. I cradle my wounded right hand and pull myself along with my elbows, scraping the dirt floor. Dirt falls into my eyes when my head bumps the tunnel ceiling. Breathe. Stay calm. Almost out. My torch shines down the tunnel and I can make something out. Something resting on the floor of the thunderbox cavity. A box. The sight of it makes me scramble quicker along the floor. I'm a crab. I'm a soldier crab. One of those little purple ones with a body like a marble. August and I would let them crawl over us in their hundreds on the shores of Bribie Island, Lyle's favourite day trip destination, an hour north of Brisbane. Lyle would pick 2 or 3 crabs up in his hand and they'd claw at his fingers, and then he'd place them casually on top of our heads. The sun would set and there'd be nobody on the beach but us boys fishing, and a couple of seagulls with their hungry eyes on our pilchards. My head emerges from the tunnel into the thunderbox, and the torchlight shines over a box. A white box. One of Bic Dang's rectangular styrofoam boxes. Of course he put it in here. Of course he put it in the thunderbox. I pull my legs up and hunch down with the torch over the box. Flip the lid off with my left hand. And there is nothing in the box. The torchlight races across the box, but no matter how many times I trace it back and forth, nothing appears inside. Empty. Titus Brosh got here first. Titus Brosh knows everything. Titus Brosh is 1 day older than the universe. Kick the box. Kick this fucking styrofoam box. Kick this fucking life of mine. And kick fucking Lyle and fucking Titus Brosh and psychotic Ivan Kroll and Mum and August and pissant Teddy and bullshit Slim, who mustn't have ever really given that much of a shit about me if he didn't want to take me home with him in my darkest hour. Slim, of all people, who I would have thought knew what it felt like to be ragdolled by life and unwanted and unwished. My right Dunlop is stomping now. Bits of styrofoam scatter across the thunderbox floor, falling into shapes on the sawdust ground like disconnected countries on a world map. And what's this shit in my eyes? This bullshit liquid that betrays me every single time. It floods my eyes and my face, and I struggle to breathe. There's that much of it coming out of me. Yeah, that's it. That's how I'll go. I'll cry myself to death. I'll cry so hard I'll die of water loss right here in this shithole. A shithole end to a shithole existence. Caitlin Spies can write my story up in the Southwest Star. The body of 13-year-old hospital escapee Eli Bell, who had been missing for 8 weeks, was found yesterday at the bottom of a backyard shithole. He had apparently destroyed the box he hoped would save the life of the only man he ever really loved. His only relative available for comment, older brother August Bell, said nothing. Caitlin Spies. I fall to the ground in exhaustion. I drop my bony ass into the sawdust and exhale as I rest my back on the rough wood wall of the thunderbox hole. Close your eyes, breathe, and sleep. Sleep. I turn the torch off and rest it in my waist. It's warm in this shithole. It's cosy. Sleep now. Sleep. I can see Caitlin Spies. I can see her. She's walking in the sunset on Bribie Island beach. There are thousands of purple soldier crabs before her, but they part for her. They map out a footpath of perfect Queensland beach sand, and she paces down it slowly, acknowledging the hard-working soldier crabs with her open palms. She has dark brown hair, and it blows in the sea breeze, and I can see her face, even though I've never seen her face. Her eyes are deep and green and knowing, and she smiles because she knows me the same way she knows everything about everything. The soldier crabs at her feet, and the sun falling in the sky, and her top lip that curls a little when she smiles like that. Caitlin Spies. The most beautiful girl I've never seen. She wants to tell me something. Come closer. Come closer, she says, and I'll whisper it. Her lips move, and her words are familiar. Boy swallows universe, she says. And she turns her head, and she casts her eyes across what was once the Pacific Ocean, but is now a vast galaxy of stars and planets and supernovas, and 1,000 astronomical events occurring in unison. Explosions of pink and purple, combustive moments in bright orange and green and yellow, and all those glittery stars against the eternal black canvas of space. We are standing at the edge of the universe, and the universe stops and starts here with us, and Saturn is within arm's reach, and its rings begin to vibrate. Buzz, buzz, and its vibrating rings sound like a telephone. Ring, ring. Are you going to get that? Asks Caitlin Spies. A telephone. I open my eyes. The sound of a telephone. Ring, ring. Back through the secret tunnel. Back in the secret room. Lyle's secret red telephone is ringing. I crawl back through the tunnel, damp dirt under my bruised kneecaps and my grazed elbows. This call is so important. This call is so perfectly timed. I mean, how about them odds? Me being down here and the phone ringing while I'm down here. I reach the other end of the tunnel and clamber into the secret room, and the phone is still ringing. You just wouldn't credit it. Good old Eli Bell, the lucky Johnny on the spot once again. Right secret place, right unknown time. I reach out to take the secret red phone handset off the secret red push-button base. Wait. Think about this remarkable coincidence. Me, down here, just as the phone rings. Extraordinarily well-timed if you don't know I'm down here. Not so extraordinary, however, if you saw me trying to climb in through the kitchen window. Not so extraordinary if Gene Crimmins has boarded the Titus Brosh gravy train and he was actually foxing me with all that windowsill kindness. Not so extraordinary if Ivan Kroll is waiting outside in a car listening to the Carpenters softly on the radio as he sharpens his Bowie knife. Ring, ring. Fuck it. Sometimes when Saturn calls, you just gotta answer. Hello? I say. Hello, Eli, says the voice down the phone line. That same voice from last time. The voice of a man. A real man-type man. Deep and raspy. Wary, maybe. It's you, isn't it? I ask. The one I spoke to when Lyle said I wasn't speaking to no one, but I was. That's me, I guess, the man says. How did you know I was down here? I didn't, he says. And it's a hell of a fluke you got me as I was passing through. I say. Not so fluky, he says. I must call this number 40 times a day. What number do you dial? I dial the number for Eli Bell, he says. What number is that? 773-8173. That's insane, I say. This phone doesn't take calls. Who told you that? Lyle. But isn't this a call? Yeah. So I guess it takes calls, he says. Now, tell me, where are you at? What do you mean? At what stage of your life are you at? Well, I'm 13 years old. Yes, yes, he says, urgent. But be more specific. Is it close to Christmas? Huh? Never mind, he says. What are you doing right now, and why? And please don't lie, because I will know if you are lying. Why should I tell you anything? Because I need to tell you something important about your mother, Eli, he says, frustrated. But first, I need you to tell me what has just happened to you and your family. Lyle got taken away by some men who work for Titus Brosh, I say. Then Ivan Kroll chopped off my lucky finger, and I passed out and woke up in hospital. And Slim told me Mum got taken to the Boggo Road Women's Prison, and Gus got taken to my father's house in Bracken Ridge, and I escaped from hospital, and I'm on the run like Slim in 1940, and I came here to find the drugs, the man says. You wanted to find Lyle's stash of heroin because you thought you could take that to Titus Brosh and he might exchange the drugs for Lyle, but it's gone, I say. Titus got to the drugs before me. He got the drugs and he got Lyle. He got it all. I yawn. I'm so tired. I'm tired, I say down the phone line. I'm so tired. I must be dreaming this. This is just a dream. My eyes are closing with exhaustion. This is not a dream, Eli, the man says. This is crazy, I say, dizzy now, confused, a fever chill. How did you find me? You picked up the phone, Eli. I don't understand. I'm so tired. You need to listen to me, Eli. Okay, I'm listening, I say. Are you really listening? The man asks. Yes, I'm really listening. A long pause. Your mum will not survive Christmas Day, the man says. What are you talking about? She's on OBS, Eli, he says. What's OBS? Observation, Eli, he says. Suicide watch. Who are you? I'm feeling sick. I need to sleep. I have a fever. Christmas is coming, Eli, the man says. You're scaring me and I need to sleep, I say. Christmas is coming, Eli, he says. Sleigh bells. I've got to lie down. Sleigh bells, Eli, the man says. Sleigh bells. I got to close my eyes. Sleigh bells, the man repeats. What was that Christmas song she used to sing about sleigh bells? About a winter wonderland? Sleigh bells and snow and a bluebird. Are you listening, Eli? Yeah, sleigh bells, I say to the man. Your end is a dead blue wren. And I hang up the phone and curl up on the earth floor of Lyle's secret room, and I pretend that Slim's girl Irene is sleeping down here in the hole with me. I slide into a bed with her, and I spoon against her porcelain skin, and I reach a comforting arm across her warm breast, and she turns to kiss me goodnight with the face of Caitlin Spies, the most beautiful face I've never seen. Boy meets girl. The office of the Southwest Star community newspaper is in Spine Street in Sumner Park, an industrial suburb neighbouring Darra across the Centenary Highway that takes drivers north into Brisbane's CBD or west towards the Darling Downs. The newspaper office is 2 doors up from the Gilbert's tyre shop, where Lyle goes to get second-hand tyres. It's next door to a window tinting shop and a buy-in-bulk pet supply store called Positively Pets. August and I used to ride our bikes to Spine Street to visit the Army Disposal store 2 doors up from here, where we'd look at old military bayonets and Vietnam War water bottles and try to convince the store owner, Bomber Lerner, an excitable Australian patriot with a wonky left eye who loves his country and the defence of it as much as he loves Kenny Rogers, to show us the still pinned and deadly grenade we knew he kept in a safe beneath his cash register. The Southwest Star office is a single-level shop space with a mirrored glass window front and a deep red banner strip of Southwest Star adorned with 4 red shooting stars forming the Southern Cross. I see my reflection in the mirrored glass. I'm stronger than yesterday, more coherent, more confident in mind, body and spirit. I had a bowl of 4 Weet-Bix with hot water from the kitchen tap for breakfast, showered, dressed in a maroon t-shirt and blue jeans and the Dunlops. I put a new bandage on my finger and the rest of my hand, found a fresh bandage in Mum's first aid kit and retaped the gauze pad Dr. Brennan had already dressed it with. My school bag was still hanging over the corner post of my bed, an acid-washed blue denim backpack covered in band names, In Excess, Cold Chisel, Led Zeppelin. I've never heard a single song by the Sex Pistols, but that didn't stop me from scrawling their name across my backpack 2 years ago. Across the zipped back pocket, there's a sketch of an overweight 3-armed alien monster I created named Thurston Carbuncle, who sucks children whole through his nostrils and enjoys the films of Alfred Hitchcock, which is why he's always wearing a sleeveless Psycho t-shirt. Between these scribbles are several hard-to-read schoolyard permanent marker messages that, like my throbbing missing finger knuckle, don't age well. Sit on this and rotate, says one message over a sketched fist with its middle finger raised. Other messages I really should have removed in the interests of good taste, like Kenneth Chugg loves Amy Preston, true love forever. Amy Preston died from leukemia last winter. I stared at that backpack for a full minute, thinking back to simpler times. Pre-this, pre-that, pre-finger fucking chop. Fuck that fucking Titus Brosh. I stuffed the backpack full of clothes and food, a couple of cans of baked beans, a muesli bar from the pantry, and Slim's copy of Papillon that he lent me, and I slipped out the back door of that Darra shithole, vowing never to return. But then I returned 30 seconds after walking out the front gate when I realised I'd forgotten to take a piss before my long walk to Sumner Park. I lean into the window to see if I can see through it, but I can't see anything except myself up close. I pull on the handle of the mirrored glass entry door and it doesn't budge. There's an oval-shaped white speaker by the door, so I press the green button at the bottom of it. "Can I help you?" asks a voice through the speaker. I lean into the speaker. I'm here to..." "Push the button as you speak, please," the voice says. I push the button. "Sorry," I say. "How can I help you?" the voice asks. It's a woman, a tough woman who sounds like she breaks macadamia shells in her eye sockets. "I'm here to see Caitlin Spies." "Push the button as you speak, please." I push the button. "Sorry again," I say, holding the button. "I'm here to see Caitlin Spies." "Is she expecting you?" Well, that does it. The jig is up. Foiled at the first hurdle. Is she expecting me? Well, no. Does a rose expect to be bathed in a sun shower? Does an old-growth tree expect to be struck by lightning? Does the sea expect to ebb and flow? Yeah, no, I say. No, she's not expecting me. "What are you here to see her about?" the woman asks through the speaker. "I have a story for her." "What's it about?" "I'd rather not say." "Push the button as you speak, please." Sorry, I'd rather not say." "Well," the woman says, exhaling, "then maybe you can tell me what sort of story it is so I can tell Caitlin what the hell sort of story it is, since you're being all cagey." "What sort of story? I don't know what you mean." "News story, feature story, community story, sports story, council story, council grievance story. What sort of story?" I consider this for a moment. Crime story, missing persons story, family story, brother's story, tragic story. I press the green button. "Love story," I say. I cough. "It's a love story." "Oh," says the woman in the speaker. "I love a good love story." She howls with laughter. "What's your name, Romeo?" she asks. "Eli Bell." "Hold on a sec, Eli." I look at my reflection in the mirrored glass of the entry door. My hair's all over the place, scruffy. I should have run Lyle's curry comb through it, put a few globs of Lyle's hair gel in it. I turn and scan the street. Still on the lam. Still the wanted unwanted. Unwanted by everybody except the cops. A hulking cement truck barrels down Spine Street, followed by a courier van, a red four-wheel drive Nissan, a yellow square-shaped Ford Falcon, its driver throwing a cigarette butt out the window. A crackling sound comes back through the door speaker. "Hey, Romeo." "Yeah?" "Look, she's real busy right now," she says. "Do you want to leave a contact number and a bit of an idea about why you're here, and maybe she can get back to you? These journos are always run off their feet. The sea will not ebb. The sea will not flow." I press the green button. "Tell her I know where Slim Halliday is." "Sorry?" "Tell her I'm best friends with Slim Halliday. Tell her I have a story to tell her." A long pause. "Hold on a second." I stand for 3 minutes staring at a line of black ants, group carrying plunder from a trail of pastry flakes that runs to a half-eaten sausage roll resting on the ground in the Positively Pets car park. I will associate trails of ants with Caitlin Spies, and I will associate half-eaten sausage rolls with the day I tried to see Caitlin Spies for the first time. The ants bump their heads together every now and then, and I wonder if they're questioning, plotting, directing, or just apologising in those brief encounters. Slim and I watched a whole trail of ants marching back and forth along our front steps once. He was having a smoke on the steps, and I asked him what he thought those ants were saying to each other as they passed, why on earth it was that they were always touching each other. He said the ants had antennae on their heads, and they were talking through those antennae without really talking. Those ants were like August. They'd found their own way of communicating. They talked by feel. Little hairs on the end of the antennae, Slim said, and these hairs passed on smells, and those smells told other ants where things were, where they needed to forage, where they were going, where they'd been. "Food trail pheromones," Slim said. "What's a pheromone?" I asked Slim. "It's like a smell with meaning," Slim said. "A chemical reaction that triggers a social response among the ants, and they all get that shared meaning." "Smells can't have meaning," I said. "Sure they can," Slim said. Slim reached his arm out from the front steps of the house, and he ripped a cluster of purple flowers from a lavender bush Mum had planted in the garden. He rubbed the flowers in his closed palm and presented the roughly ground flowers to my nose, and I breathed them in. "What does that smell like?" Slim asked. "Mother's Day stalls at school," I said. "So maybe that means your mum," he said. "Or maybe now it means these ants crawling down the steps beside your mum's lavender bush." Fruitcake means Christmas. Meat pies mean Redcliffe Dolphins versus Wynnum Manly and Sunday afternoon football. Salted beer nuts mean your uncle's tying one on. Sunlight soap means a Carlingford winter and the orphan master throwing me in a freezing cold bath to wash the dirt off my kneecaps, but the dirt don't come off because he had me kneeling down in mud too long to clean off the front steps of the orphanage. Front steps, just like these ones. I nodded. Trails, kid, Slim said. Where we're going. Where we've been. Just another way for the world to talk back to you. The speaker crackles on the Southwest Star entry door. Come on in and tell your story, Romeo. The door unlocks and I pull it open before it locks shut again. I step into the front foyer of the Southwest Star. It's air-conditioned in here. Blue-grey carpet. A water cooler with plastic white cups. A white sign-in desk. A short and stocky woman behind the desk in a crisp white security shirt with navy blue epaulets on her shoulders. She smiles. Just take a seat and she'll be out soon, the woman says, nodding me towards a two-seat couch and an armchair by the water cooler. Concern on her face. You okay? I nod. You don't look okay, she says. Your face is all red and sweaty. She looks at my strapped hand. Who did that dressing? I look down at the dressing. The bandage is coming loose. Creased in parts, too tight in others. Like I received first aid from a blind drunk. My mum did it, I say. The woman on the desk nods, doubt across her face. Grab yourself a water, she says. I fill a plastic cup, glug it down with the cup collapsing in my left hand. Fill another and glug it down just as fast. How old are you? The woman asks. I turned 14 in 5 months, I say. I am changing, desk woman, inside and out. My legs are getting longer, like my past. I have 20+ hairs growing from my right underarm. So you're 13? She says. I nod. Your parents know you're here? I nod. You've been walking a bit, eh? She asks. I nod. She casts her eyes over my backpack resting at my feet. You going someplace? She asks. I nod. Where are you going? She asks. Well, I was going here. Then I got here, and after here I'll probably go someplace else. But that depends. On what? Asks the woman behind the desk. On Caitlin's spies. The woman smiles and turns her head, and what she's looking at makes me stand up. Well, speak of the devil. I stand up the way a 13-year-old Aztec boy might have stood up on a beach when he saw a Spanish fleet cutting across the horizon. She walks towards me. Not towards the security woman behind the desk, not to the water cooler, not to the entry door, but towards me, Eli Bell. The most beautiful face I've never seen. I saw that face, standing on the edge of the universe. That face spoke to me. That face has always spoken to me. Her deep brown hair is tied back, and she wears thick black-rimmed spectacles and a white long-sleeve shirt that hangs loosely over light blue acid-wash jeans, and the bottom of her jeans hang over brown leather boots. She carries a pen in her right hand, and in that same hand she carries a small, yellow Spyrex notepad the size of her palm. She stops before me. You know Slim Halliday? She asks flatly. And I freeze for 2 seconds, and then my brain tells my mouth to open, and then my brain tells my voice box to respond, but nothing comes out. I try again, but nothing comes out. Eli Bell, speechless, nothing to say as he stands on the edge of the universe. My voice has temporarily left me, abandoned me, like my confidence and my cool. I turn to the water cooler and pour myself another cup of water. As I drink it down, my bandaged right hand begins unconsciously scribbling words in thin air. He's my best friend. I write on the air with my club of a bandaged hand. He's my best friend. What are you doing? Caitlin Spies asks. What is that? Sorry, I say, relieved to hear the word come out of my mouth. My brother Gus talks like that. Like what? Caitlin Spies asks. You looked like you wanted to paint a house, but you didn't have a paintbrush. I really did look like that, didn't I? She's so funny, so insightful. My brother Gus doesn't talk. He writes his words in the air. Cute, she says sharply. But I'm on a deadline. So you want to hurry up and tell me how you know Slim Halliday? He's my best friend, I say. She laughs. You're Slim Halliday's best friend. Slim Halliday hasn't been seen in the flesh in 3 years. Most presume he's dead already. And you're telling me he's alive and well and best friends with a... What are you, 12? I'm 13, I say. Slim was good friends first with... Well, Slim was my babysitter. She shakes her head. Your parents had you babysat by a convicted killer, she says. The Houdini of Boggo Road, the greatest escapee ever locked away in the Australian clink. A man who'd happily sell the kidneys of a 13-year-old boy if it meant a clean getaway. That's some classy parenting from your folks there. There's warmth in the way she says that. Humour and toughness too, but warmth mostly. Maybe I'm biased, because she really looks like the girl of my dreams in a Clark Kent-style thick-rimmed Specs disguise. But there's warmth in everything she says. The warmth comes through in the way her top lip kinks up gently in the corner of her mouth. And there's warmth in the skin of her cheeks and the colour of her red bottom lip and the deep pools of her green eyes that look like the lily-pad-fringed waters of the Enoggera Reservoir, where Lyle took August and me for a swim that day we bought the Atari from that family in the Gap in Brisbane's leafy inner west. I want to dive into those green eyes and scream, Geronimo! And splash into the world of Caitlin Spies and never come back up for air. Hey, she says, waving a hand in my face. Hey, you there? Yes, I'm here, I say. Yeah, now you are. But just then you drifted off, she says. You started staring right at me, then you went away somewhere with this goofy look across your face like a giraffe doing a quiet fart. That is how I look, isn't it? She is so funny. I turn to the 2-seat couch, whispering, Can we sit down for a second? She looks at her watch. I've got a story for you, I say, but I need to be careful how I tell it. She takes a deep breath, sighs on the exhale. She nods, sits down on the couch. I sit beside her. She flips open her Spirax notepad, takes the lid off her pen. You going to take notes? I ask. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, she says. What's the spelling of your name? Why do you need to know that? Because I'm knitting a cardigan with your name on it. I'm confused. It's so I can spell your name right in my story. You going to write a story about me? If this story you're about to tell me is worth writing about, yes, she says. Can I give you a fake name? Okay, she says. Give me a fake name. Theodore. Zuckerman. That's a shit fake name, she says. How many Aussies you know called Zuckerman? Let's go with, I don't know, Eli Bell. How do you know my name? She nods to the woman behind the front desk. You already told it to Lorraine. Lorraine behind the desk gives a knowing grin. I take a breath. No names, I say. All right, no names, she says. Boy, this must be one hell of a yarn, Deep Throat. She crosses her legs and turns towards me, then looks me in the eye. So, she says. So what? I wonder. So tell me something, she says. I really enjoyed the Queensland Remembers story you wrote about Slim. Thanks, she says. I liked how you said that in the end the way he finally escaped Boggo Road was by walking out the front door as a free man, I say. She nods. That's very true, I say. In the end, the greatest trick he ever pulled was surviving. That's the truth of it. People always go on about how cunning he was inside, but they never talk about his patience, or his will, or his determination, or how many times he thought about swallowing a rubber band ball filled with razor blades. Nice imagery, Caitlin says. But you did leave out the most poignant part about Slim's story. Do tell. The fact he wanted to be good, but the bad in him kept getting in the way of his plans, I say. He was like any other man. He had good and bad in him, but Slim never got a chance to give the good side a long enough walk down the street. He spent most of his life inside, and when you're inside, being good is as good as being dead. Aren't you a little young to be thinking about the stories of Queensland cons? Caitlin asks. Shouldn't you be playing with He-Man figures or something? My brother Gus and I burned all our He-Man figures with a magnifying glass. How old is your brother? She asks. He's 14, I say. How old are you? I'm 21, she says. That hurts. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't feel right for some reason. You're 8 years older than me, I say. By the time I'm 18, you're going to be 26? She raises an eyebrow. By the time I'm 20, you're going to be... She cuts me off. What do you care how old I'm going to be when you're 20? I look again into those green eyes. Because I think we're meant to be... What, Eli? What are we meant to be exactly? What exactly are you talking about? The answers to the questions. Your end is a dead blue wren. Caitlin Spies, boy, swallows, universe. I bet August knows what we're meant to be. Never mind, I say. I rub my eyes. Are you all right? Caitlin asks. Can I call your parents for you? No, I'm all right, I say. I'm just tired. What happened to your hand? She asks. I stare at my bandaged hand. Titus Brosh. That's what you came here for, Titus Brosh, not Caitlin Spies. Listen, I'm going to tell you a story, but you must be very careful about what you do with it, I say. The men I'm about to tell you about are very dangerous. These men do terrible things to people. She looks serious now. Tell me what happened to your hand, Eli Bell, she says. Do you know a man named Titus Brosh? I whisper. Titus Brosh? She ponders. She starts to scribble the name in her notebook. Don't write it down, I say. Just remember the name if you can. Titus Brosh. Titus Brosh? She says again. Who is Titus Brosh? He's the man who took my... But I don't finish that sentence, because a fist bashes against the officer's glass shop front, just above where we're sitting. I duck down instinctively, and so does Caitlin Spies. Bang, bang! 2 fists now. Oh, shit, says Lorraine on the front desk. It's Raymond Leary. Call the police, Lorraine, Caitlin says. Raymond Leary wears a camel-coloured suit and tie with a white business shirt, mid-50s. His face is round and his hair is straw-coloured and scarecrow straggly. His belly is large, and his fists are fat, and they bash the shopfront glass with such fury the whole glass panel rattles in place, and the water cooler inside shakes a little too. Lorraine presses a button at her desk, speaks into an intercom. "Mr. Leary, please step back from the glass," she says. Raymond Leary screams. "Let me in!" He barks. He puts his face against the glass. "Let me in!" Caitlin moves to the front desk and I follow her. Raymond Leary bashes again on the glass. "Stay back from the glass," Caitlin warns me. "Who is he?" I ask, moving to Caitlin's side. "State government knocked his house down to build an exit road off Ipswich motorway," she says. "Raymond got screwed in the process, and then his wife got depression and she threw herself in front of a cement truck on the Ipswich motorway just before the new exit road was built over her house." "So why's he bashing on your window?" I ask. "Because we won't tell his story," Caitlin says. Raymond's clenched fists bang against the window. "Call the police, Lorraine," Caitlin says again. Lorraine nods, picks up her desk phone. "Why won't you tell his story?" I ask. "Because our paper campaigned for the government to put that exit road in," she says. 89% of our readers wanted improvements made to that section of the motorway." Raymond Leary takes 5 methodical steps back from the glass. "Oh, fuck," Caitlin Spies says. Raymond Leary runs at the glass wall. It takes a moment to actually comprehend that he does this, that this moment is real because it's so wrong, so truly out of the norm, that it seems impossible. But it is happening. He really is running head first at the glass wall, and his wide and fatty forehead flesh really does hit the glass wall first, with all the weight of, 150 kilos pushing behind it. And the impact is so dramatic and hard that Caitlin Spies and Lorraine behind the desk and me, Eli Bell, solo adventurer, hospital escapee, lamb boy, draw breath sharply and brace for the inevitable shattering of all that dangerous glass. But it doesn't give. It just rattles in place, and Raymond Leary's head snaps back like he's broken his neck. And I see his eyes register what he's done, and his eyes say he's mad. His eyes say he is now animal. His eyes say he is Taurus, the bull. "Yes, the office of South West Star, 64 Spine Street, Sumner Park. Please hurry," Lorraine says down the phone. He staggers and regathers his footing, and then he steps back 7 paces this time, and he breathes, and he charges again at the glass. Smack! His head whips back further this time, and his legs give way beneath him. "Stop it, Raymond Leary, stop it." A lump emerges in the centre of his forehead. It turns the colour and shape of the old black tennis balls August and I own that have been rubbed and handball bashed raw from countless games in the middle of Sandarkan Street. He steps back again, the rage building and exploding and building again inside him with every step back, shoulders circling in their sockets, his fists clenching. Taurus the bull wants to die today. Lorraine speaks urgently into her intercom. "That's reinforced glass, Mr. Leary," she says. "You cannot break through it." Challenge accepted. Raymond Leary, in his frayed camel-coloured suit and his sad attack on a wall of reinforced glass, he charges again. Whack! And the impact knocks him down. He lands hard on his left shoulder, spit coming from his mouth, groggy and drunk on his own madness. He lurches to his feet, a tear in the left shoulder of his suit jacket. He's dizzy and confused, moving from side to side. For a moment, he turns his back to the glass, and this is the moment I choose to rush to the front door of the office. "Eli, what are you doing?" Caitlin Spies barks. I open the door. "Eli, stop! Don't go out there!" Caitlin Spies warns. "Eli!" I go out there. I slip out the entry door and close it quickly behind me. Raymond Leary wobbles on his feet, punch-drunk. He steps 3 times to his side and stops on the spot and turns to set his eyes on me. There's a split across his forehead, and his forehead is black and swollen, and the split throbs with blood, and this red blood spills down his face, down the mountain of a busted nose, across the ridges of his trembling lips, along the plane of his wide and dimpled chin, and onto his crisp white business shirt and tie. "Stop it," I say. He stares into my eyes and tries to understand me, and I think he does, because he breathes, and that's what humans do. We breathe, and we think. But we get mad too. We get so sad, and we get so mad. "Please stop it, Raymond," I say. And he breathes again, and he steps back. Confused by this moment, confused by this boy before him. Across the road, at a hole-in-the-wall snack shop selling meat pies and chips with gravy, several men in workwear are looking over at the scene. The street is quiet. No cars passing. This moment is frozen in time. The bull and the boy. I can hear him breathing. He's exhausted. He's spent. Something registers in his eyes. Something human. "They don't want to hear my story," he says. He turns to the glass wall and finds himself in the mirrored reflection. "I'll hear your story," I say. His right hand rubs the swelling in his forehead. Blood covers his fingers, and his fingers trace the blood running down his face. His right palm finds the blood now, and the palm rubs the blood in circles around his forehead. He rubs it across his whole face. The colour red. He turns to me like he's just woken up from a dream. "How did I get here? Who are you?" He shakes his head in disbelief, and he drops his head, and the workmen from the meat pie shop are crossing the road now, and Raymond Leary seems to have stopped. "You're all right, kid?" calls one of the workmen. And with that, Raymond Leary raises his head and finds himself again in the glass, and he runs at himself in the glass, and his bloody face meets his bloody face, and both versions of Raymond Leary fall unconscious to the ground. 3 workmen rush across the road, form a half circle around Raymond Leary. "What the fuck's his malfunction?" one of the workmen asks. I say nothing. I just stare at Raymond Leary. He lies flat on his back, with his arms outstretched and his legs outstretched, like he was drawn up for scientific study by Da Vinci. Caitlin Spies emerges cautiously from the front door, looking at Raymond Leary flat on his back. Caitlin's fringe hangs over her face, and a light gust of wind blows it about, like there's a puppet in a dress dancing across her forehead, and the sun makes Caitlin Spies beautiful because it lights up her face and makes her move outside of time, outside of life, like she's walking in slow motion along the edge of the universe. She walks over to me, Eli Bell, boy on the lam, boy in trouble. She rests a gentle hand on my left shoulder, her hand on me, boy on the lam, boy in love. "Are you okay?" she asks. "I'm okay," I say. "Is he—" "I don't know," she says. She looks closer at Raymond Leary, then steps back, shaking her head. "You're a brave boy, Eli Bell," she says. "Stupid, but stupid brave." The sun is in me now. The sun is my heart, and all the world, the fishermen in China, and the corn farmers in Mexico, and the fleas on the backs of dogs in Kathmandu, relies on the rising and falling of my full heart. A police car pulls up on the side of the road, its front right wheel biting into the concrete guttering. 2 male police officers exit the vehicle and rush to Raymond Leary on the ground. "Step back, please," says one officer, slipping on a pair of gloves as he kneels down to Raymond Leary. A pool of blood builds on the concrete beside Raymond's left ear. Police. "Goodbye, Caitlin Spies," I say. I step back from the small group gathered around Raymond. "Huh?" she says. "Where are you going?" "I'm going to see my mum," I say. "But what about your story?" she asks. "You haven't told me your story." "The timing's not right," I say. "The timing?" "The time's not right," I say, walking backwards. "You're a curious boy, Eli Bell," she says. "Will you wait?" I ask. "Wait for what?" she asks. Lorraine from the front desk calls out to Caitlin from the group surrounding Raymond Leary. "Caitlin," she says, "the officers have some questions." Caitlin turns her head to Lorraine and the police and the scene before the wall of glass, and I run. I sprint up Spine Street, and my bony legs are quick, but maybe not quicker than Christmas. Wait for the universe, Caitlin Spies. Wait for me. Boy stirs monster. The moon pool. All the way out here on the northern fringe of the city. The full midnight moon shines for August Bell anywhere, so why wouldn't it shine for him in Bracken Ridge, home of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table? Number 5, Lancelot Street. Robert Bell's small orange brick house in the Queensland Housing Commission cluster of small orange brick homes just down the hill from Arthur Street and Gawain Road and Percival Street and Geraint Street. Here sits Sir August the Mute in the gutter by a black letterbox fixed to a weather-beaten stick. He has a garden hose resting on his right thigh as he fills a flat pan of Lancelot Street bitumen in precise angles to reflect a full moon so vivid that the man inside it can be seen with his lips wet, whistling, "And the band played Waltzing Matilda." I watch him from behind a blue Nissan family van parked 5 houses further up the street. He looks up at the moon, then he kinks the garden hose in his hands so the water stops and the moon pool stills, reflecting a perfect silver moon. Then he reaches for an old rusted 7-iron golf club that sits beside him, and he stands and he leans over the moon pool and stares into his reflection. He flips the club upside down, and with the handle end, he taps the very centre of the pool, and he sees things only he can see. Then he looks up and sees me. "So I guess you can talk when you want to," I say. He shrugs his shoulders, scribbles in the air. "Sorry, Eli." "Say it." He drops his head, considers something for a moment, looks back up. "Sorry," he says. Boy sounds soft and fragile and nervous and unsure. Boy sounds like me. "Why, Gus?" "Why what?" "Why the fuck weren't you talking?" He breathes. "Safer that way," he says. "Can't hurt anyone that way." "What are you talking about, Gus?" August looks down at the moon pool. He smiles. "Can't hurt you, Eli," he says. "Can't hurt us." "There are things I want to say, but if I said them, Eli, people would be frightened by those things." "What things?" "Big things. The kinds of things that people would not understand. Things that would make people misunderstand me if I said them. Then they'd misunderstand us, Eli. And then they'd take me away, and who'd be left to look after you?" "I can get by just fine on my own." August smiles. He nods. A streetlight shines above us. All the lights in all the houses in the street are off, except for the living room light in our house. He nods me over. I stand beside him and we stare into the moon pool. "Watch this," he does not say. He taps the pool with the handle of the 7-iron and circular ripples spread out into the pool from the centre point of impact, and our reflection, the two of us brothers, is fractured 13 or 14 times over. August scribbles in the air, "You and me, and you and me, and you and me, and you and me, and—" "I don't understand," I say. He taps the pool again and points to the ripples. "I think I'm losing my mind, Gus," I say. "I think I'm going crazy. I need to sleep. I feel like I'm walking in a dream, and this is the end bit that feels really real, the bit just before I wake up." He nods. "Am I going crazy, Gus?" "You're not crazy, Eli," August says, "but you are special. Didn't you ever have that feeling you were special?" "I'm not special," I say. "I think I'm just tired." We both stare into the moon pool. "So you're going to talk to people now?" August shrugs. "I'm still thinking about that," he says. "Maybe I could just talk to you. Everybody's got to start somewhere." You know what I realised in all that time with my mouth shut? "What?" "Most things people say don't need to be said," he says. He taps the moon pool. "I've been thinking about all the things Lyle said to me," August says. "He said so many things, and I reckon all those things put together wouldn't say as much as he said when he'd wrap his arm around my shoulder." "What did Lyle tell you across the table?" "He told me where the drugs were," he says. "Where are the drugs?" I ask. "I'm not telling you," he says. "Why not?" "Because he also told me to protect you," he says. "Why?" "Lyle knew you were special too, Eli." I tell him about my adventure. I tell him about my quest. I tell him how I met Caitlin Spies. I tell him how beautiful she is, how everything about her feels right. "I feel like I know her," I say. "But that's impossible, right?" August nods. "How did you know her name that day?" I ask. "That day you were sitting on the fence at home and you were writing her name over and over and over. Was that one of those big things? One of those things you know but can't say because it's safer that way?" August shrugs. "I just saw her name in the paper," he says. I tell him everything about her face, about her walk, about the way she speaks. I tell him everything. About my escape from the hospital, my encounter with Batman, going back to Dara, returning to the secret room, and the message from the man on the phone about Mum. My story is interrupted by a deep howling sound coming from the living room of number 5 Lancelot Street. "What the fuck is that?" "That's Dad," August says. "Is he dying in there or something?" "He's singing," August says. "Sounds like he's talking to a whale." "He's singing to Mum," August says. "Mum?" "He does it every second night," August says. "He spends the first 4 cups of goon cursing her, calling her every name under the sun. Then he spends the next 4 cups singing to her." This strange howling wobbles and wails out through the large front sliding window built into the orange brick house. There are no words in the howling, just sorrow, a deranged vocal warbling, slobbering and woozy and guttural, like an opera singer hitting a crescendo with a mouthful of marbles. Blue and grey flashes of television light bounce off the living room walls, visible through the front window. I scan the house for a moment. All the houses in the street are housing commission houses, and all these housing commission houses in the street are built the same. Low-set 3-bedroom shoeboxes with a two-step access to a porch off the left side and a concrete ramp running to the back door. My father hasn't mowed the lawn at the front of number 5 Lancelot Street. My father hasn't mowed the lawn at the back of the house either. But he must mow the front lawn more than the back, because the front lawn grass reaches my kneecaps, but the back lawn grass would reach my nose. "This place is a shithole," I say. August nods. "We got to go see her, Gus," I say. "We got to go see Mum. She just needs to see us and she'll be all right." I nod to the living room window. "He'll take us to see her," I say. August tips his head to the side, a look of doubt. He says nothing. The howl singing gets stronger as we step onto the front porch. Oh! The pain in it, the melodrama. Some strange, incoherent warbling along to a song about the night and fate and death. August leads us through a thick wooden front door roughly painted a deep brown. The floors in the living room are dark brown wood, unpolished. By the entry, there's a cream-coloured cabinet from the 1960s that's mostly empty but for 6 or 7 old mugs, a brown bowl holding a wooden banana, an apple, an orange, and a novelty metal faux bumper sticker. Dyslexics are teeple poo. The fibro walls of the living room are painted a peach colour, and there are small and large holes and dents on every wall, and these random holes and dents are interspersed with blotches of white paint where other holes have been puttied up. There's a framed print on the wall of a beautiful woman in a white dress sitting in a boat on a pond with her arms out, a look of despair on her face. My father doesn't see us enter the house. He's somewhere in the corner haze of tobacco smoke and 1960s peyote rock music. He's kneeling on the floor, half a metre from a television that has its volume down with white noise static fuzz filling the screen. My father rests an elbow unsteadily on a square white coffee table, scratched in parts to reveal historical layers of multicoloured paint coatings, like the inside of a jawbreaker lolly. Beside his bare right foot is a yellow plastic cup, like the ones I used to glug cordial from in primary school. Next to the cup is a silver wine cask bladder, wrung to death like an old chamois. Robert Bell's howl singing is an attempt to sing along with the Doors, coming through a stereo at full volume beside the television. My father howls again, his voice cracking on the high notes and drowning in spit and drink on the lows. And my father can't follow the words of Jim Morrison, so he puts his head back and howls, and his pack of post-midnight wolves should be arriving soon. He's thin and bony, with a beer belly and a salt and pepper crew cut. If Lyle is John Lennon, then this man is George Harrison, gaunt and dark and haunting. A white singlet and blue stubbies shorts. I guess he must be 40 by now. Looks 50. Tattoos look 60. Old homemade jobs like Lyle's. A python wrapped around a crucifix on his right forearm. An image of a giant ship, Titanic maybe, sailing across his right calf beneath the letters SOS. A monster singing in that ghost smoke corner of the living room, curled up and kneeling like that, howling like that. The monster looks like he belongs in some basement with Igor and his friends, Lobster Boy and Camel Girl. And my father's bloodshot right eyeball moves inside its socket beneath the tan chewing gum spread of his old worn-in face and finds me. "Hi, Dad," I say. His face wobbles as he looks at me, then his right hand fumbles for something beneath the coffee table. He finds an axe handle, a shapely, hard brown wooden club without the chopping blade at the top. He grips this weapon and staggers to his feet. He snarls, "Whoa!" His shorts are soiled with his own piss. He grits his teeth, spit coming from his mouth, trying to say something, trying so hard to form words. He sways as he stares at me, and he finds his balance. He spits. He wets his lips and says it again. Cunt! Then he goes again. Cunt! He spits, breathless, struggling to find the word. Then, quicker than I can comprehend it, he pads straight for me, raising the axe handle high, ready to swing it. Cunt! He screams. I stand in place, my brain not presenting me with a better defence than my forearms covering my skull. But Sir August the Mute, Sir August the Brave, stands in front of me. In one perfect motion, August's clenched right fist hooks into my father's left temple, bringing the man with the axe handle down low enough for August to grip the back of his singlet with both hands and build on his forward momentum with a heaving throw that drives his drunk head into the peach-coloured wall behind us. My father's skull puts a hole in the wall just before it drops, already unconscious, with the rest of his body to the unpolished wooden floor. We stand above him. He has his lips pressed to the floor, his eyelids closed. He still grips the axe handle. August breathes. "Don't worry," he says. "He's actually quite lovely when he's sober." This is the end of CD 6. The book continues on CD 7.